just by wandering around with a stick. Believe it or not, this is stuff you should know. You Know the podcast with over 1 billion listens. It's now for your eyes, so you can read it. Stuff You Should Know, an incomplete compendium of mostly interesting things, covers everything from the origin of the Murphy bed to why people get lost. Become the most interesting person you know now at stuffyoushouldknow.com or wherever books are sold.
Hello, Earthlings. It's Kesha. I'm so excited to be bringing you my new podcast, Kesha and the Creepies. You may know me from my party jams like We Are Who We Are and TikTok, but it's my curiosity for the unexplainable, the mystical, the magical that drives these conversations with exciting pop culture guests and experts in the occult and all things creepy. Listen and follow Kesha and the Creepies on the iHeartRadio app, Apple Podcasts, or wherever you listen to podcasts.
Thanks for listening to The Hurt Podcast. Be sure to catch us live every weekday from 12 to 3 Eastern, 9 to noon Pacific on Fox Sports Radio and FS1. Find your local station for The Hurt at foxsportsradio.com or stream us live every day on the iHeartRadio app by searching Hurt.
You're listening to Fox Sports Radio.
It is a Friday and a great one at that. Live in Los Angeles, this is The Hurt. Wherever you may be, however you may be listening. iHeartRadio, Fox Sports Radio, FS1. 1 hour from now off a winning week. Blazing 5. Love the Blazing 5 this week, going after some of the biggest games this week. And Joy Taylor is joining me on a Friday. Joy, I've got a sweater on. I'm headed to a little ski trip this weekend. So
we're matching.
We are matching. I'm excited. I have my ski season start for me with my kids this weekend.
That is going to be fun.
Oh, my God, I love it.
Get some outdoor, fresh air.
Yeah, God, don't I
Doesn't it feel good to, like, It's so weird how much you appreciate fresh air now. When I'm, like, in my car and I'm on the highway, all the windows are down, I'm like, safe air.
Safe air. Good to have you in. So what you saw last night, this is what a New England offense looks like against the top 5 defense. 10 first downs, 200 total yards. Three for 16 on 3rd and 4th down. And the quarterback, 9 for 16 and a 53 quarterback rating. For the record, they scored 6 points against the good San Francisco defense and 3 against the Rams. This is with the best football coach in the history of the National Football League. That's what they are. It doesn't matter who the quarterback is. The GOAT left. Cam looks inept. The difference between quarterback, wide receiver, tight end, running back talent, New England or Rams isn't even close. And by the way, what we saw last night and what we've seen this year, it's called Greg Popovich and the San Antonio Spurs. The system, the coach, the system. Then Tim Duncan got old, they won less, Tim Duncan retires, and they're completely irrelevant. The Spurs are the 3rd best and most relevant team in Texas. Systems need stars. They don't just need them, they're dependent on them. Phil Jackson's system, Shaq and Kobe won championships. And Kobe and Gasol, you can win championships. And Kobe by himself with a triangle offense is swept in the first round. Phil Jackson, how do you do when Michael left for baseball? The system doesn't work as well. It's not that you need stars for a system. You're totally dependent on them. New England, though, fell into something I've seen so many times. Old, successful men. The more they won, the more arrogant they got, the more they talked about how great the system was, the less they listened to anybody outside of their sphere. God, I've seen this. Broadcasting, I've seen it in football, I've seen it in every business. And then we have a cultural change that the league is becoming more weapons-based. Tight end, wide receiver, running back, quarterback. Of the teams I think can win the Super Bowl today, Green Bay, Kansas City, Cleveland, Rams, Saints, Seattle, Tampa, Buffalo, they don't all have great defenses. They don't all have Hall of Fame coaches. They've all got weapons. New England's now 6-7. They will not make the playoffs. They have no momentum. They don't have a current quarterback. They don't have a future quarterback. I know Belichick can coach defense. Best ever. I know he can coach special teams. Probably best ever. But offensively, this is why Brady left. You can't win big in this league, even with the world's best coach, a top 10 defense, great special teams, when you have a BB gun for an offense. If you took the top 10 skill players in that game last night, quarterback, receiver, tight end, running back, the Rams have all 10. Damian Harris is the only Patriot that is close. But it's the system. They're dependent on stars. And Sean McVay, by the way, he's got a system too, with a bunch of good players. Belichick's a great coach, the best ever. But I've seen it. So was Popovich. But I've seen it over and over. Mid-70-year-old legend. The more they win, the more you read about the system, the more they think they know, the less they let anybody in. And the system has value. But the Spurs don't have a star, and the Patriots don't have a quarterback. And no great coach or system can win with it. You've seen it twice this year when they faced the top defense. 6 points against the Niners, 3 against the Rams, 10 first downs, a 53 quarterback rating. Watch the games. Systems have value, but they are wholly dependent on stars. The Kobe, the Shaq, the MJ, the Pippen, the Brady, the Duncan. All right, let's, big game this weekend. I think Buffalo is going to hand it to Pittsburgh. And people have said, you are rough on the Steelers this year. Well, no, because I don't just look at records, and that doesn't define how good you are. The Steelers have a problem, and it's a problem that doesn't actually sound like a problem. If I said to you, listen, Pittsburgh this year, man, they are Big Ben. They have never leaned on Big Ben more than now. That's actually a big problem, and there's numbers to back it up. When Ben first came in the league, 2004 to 2011, the Steelers were not Big Ben reliant. In fact, their passer ranking was 32nd in the league. But they won 70% of their games, 10-4 in the playoffs, with 3 Super Bowl appearances. The last 8 years, they become increasingly dependent on Big Ben. His passer rating's gone up. As a team, they're 4th in the NFL in throwing. But now they win 64% of their games, have won only 3 of their last 7 playoff games with no Super Bowl appearances. Pittsburgh doesn't even now try to run the football. And this run's kind of counterintuitive with what you would think. You'd think in baseball you'd want guys that can hit home runs, but the home run champs historically in baseball don't win the World Series. In the NBA, you'd think, I want to get the best score. Scoring champs, last 50 years, do not win championships in the NBA. Shaq did it once, Michael Jordan a couple times. They don't. You'd think having the scoring champ and the home run champ doesn't work that way. In football, it's the same thing. The more you lean in to your quarterback, even if he's great, the less chance to win a Super Bowl. So Aaron Rodgers' Super Bowl year, where was he in pass attempts in the NFL? 14th. Russell Wilson's Super Bowl winning year, what was he in attempts? 22nd. Well, what about Patrick Mahomes last year? 18th. Now, he did miss a couple of games. Big Ben is number 1 by a mile in the NFL. It runs counter to what you would think would work. You got to have a scoring champ in the NBA. You got the guy the home run hitters. You got to have a quarterback you lean on. Josh Allen. Now think about Buffalo, because Buffalo's going to beat Pittsburgh this weekend. So Josh Allen, they got him Cole Beasley. Great slot. They got him Stephon Diggs. They have John Brown. They're not much of a running team. But he's only 9th in attempts, and he looks like, next to Mahomes, one of the 2 best young quarterbacks in the league. He's 9th, and they don't have much of a running game. So let's go to Aaron Rodgers this year. He and Devontae Adams. They're 13th in passing attempts. The more the Steelers lean in to Ben, the worse the Steelers are. And it's not a shot at Ben. Here's an interesting number for you. In Big Ben's career, when they've asked him to throw, now he's throwing 50 times a game now, just 35 times or more, they're a 500 team. 51, 48, and 1. When they've asked him to throw less than 35, he's 104 and 24. It's not a shot at Ben. It's not a shot at Rodgers or Russell or Mahomes. But we think scoring champs, home run champs, and lean into the star quarterback wins. It doesn't. Even Ben needs a serviceable running game. Pittsburgh's just stopped even trying to run a football. I mean, just goes to my say it out loud theory. Yeah, this team, it's really good. They ask their quarterback to throw over 50 times a game. That's like Canadian football. That's like Big 12 football. And Big 12 champs don't beat SEC champs because they have running games. Good stuff today. Also, I thought you saw something. Not a great night for Cam Newton. Not sure what his future is. Blazing 5 top of next hour. But there's a remarkable thing going on, and I wish I had an answer, with the LA Rams. And many of the top teams cannot solve this dilemma. It is the enigma and the question mark in the league. And the Rams, more than anybody in the NFL, have solved it. And I'll explain that on the other side.
Be sure to catch live editions of The Herd weekdays at noon Eastern, 9 a.m. Pacific on Fox Sports Radio, FS1, and the iHeartRadio app.
Hi, this is Bowen Yang here, and if you're as excited as I am about the upcoming 4th season of Search Party on HBO Max, then you want to tune in to Search Party, the podcast. I'm sitting down with the creators and stars of the dark comedy to delve deeper into the disturbing world inhabited by Dory, Drew, Elliot, and Portia. And to help us discuss Search Party's most prominent themes, we're inviting a very special celebrity fan to join each chat. Folks like Paul Scheer, Vanessa Bayer, Busy Phillips, Taryn Killam, and Carrie Brownstein, among many others. I couldn't be more excited to talk with these folks about one of my favorite shows on TV. So join us as we review classic moments, share behind-the-scenes anecdotes, and analyze the complex characters and unpredictable plot lines that make the series oh so much fun. Search Party Season 4 comes to HBO Max on January 14th. Meanwhile, be sure to subscribe to Search Party, the podcast, which premieres December 14th on the iHeartRadio app, Apple Podcasts, or wherever you get your podcasts.
Hey everybody, this is Jill Scott, and I am pleased to introduce you to J.Ill, the podcast. I am joined by my amazing, brilliant girlfriends, Laia St. Clair.
What up, though?
And Aja Graydon Dantzler.
Hey, y'all.
We are going to be talking about a lot of amazing things like individuality,
Family and blackness.
Oh, Jill, I don't have time to listen to a podcast. Honey, listen when you're soaking in your bathtub. Listen on your long drive home or when you're shopping at the grocery store. Just throw those earbuds in and check out J.Ill, the podcast. Listen to Jill Scott presents J.Ill, the podcast on the iHeartRadio app, Apple Podcast, or wherever you get your podcasts.
Discovery. It's a new app. It's coming out. Discovery Plus. Next year, streaming service. Or exclusive originals and stuff like the Food Network, stuff you like. Good to have you in. Blazing 5 top of next hour. So, the LA Rams are a little bit like their rival, the 49ers. We think of the 49ers, Kyle Shanahan, as an offensive genius. But they got to a Super Bowl last year because of their defense. It allows Garoppolo, when he's healthy, to be a complementary player. The LA Rams, McVay, we think he's an offensive genius. No, what they're really built around their defense. It allows Goff to be a complementary player. He had one great throw on the opening drive, one huge throw in the third and fourth quarter. He's allowed to be a complementary player. And when the LA Rams can write the script of a game, McVay's 34-0, leading at half. And last night you could tell in the opening drive, oh, they're writing the script. They're controlling the tempo. They're controlling the line. of scrimmage, and Goff is comfortable. When they write the script, they're very uniquely built to beat the NFC. I don't know about Kansas City and Pittsburgh, I don't know. But they're 8-0 against NFC teams not called the Niners, winning by an average of 11 points. When they can write the script, they're really as good as anybody in this league, including, we saw a couple years ago, including Mahomes, Andy Reid, and the Chiefs. We saw that in L.A. Last night they wrote the script. Green Bay doesn't love to be physical. They can do that. Seattle, bad offensive line. Meet Aaron Donald. Tampa, who's got Mike Evans? Oh, Jalen Ramsey. Put heat on Tom. They did. They really match up with everybody very well in the NFC. But here's something else about the Rams, and it's very unique. For the third year in a row, they are remarkably healthy. Tampa, injuries all year to their stars. Dallas, Philadelphia for 3 years. Seattle fell apart last year. Pittsburgh, Devontae Adams, Green Bay. Rams don't suffer any injuries. What about Todd Gurley? Yep, shipped him off, solved it immediately, Cam Akers. Like, they figured that out within a season. Andrew Whitworth is hurt. Well, they've drafted well. They've got a good young player behind him, and Andrew's coming back. He'll be on our show later. Everybody's going to have injuries. Nobody's saying you go through a season without them. The Todd Gurley dilemma, they had a winning record even with that, but now they have 3 legitimate running backs. Is it because they don't hit as much in practice? They just don't. They don't hit as much in practice. Sean McVay was the first coach to do this 2 or 3 years ago. I forget, Joy. No starters play in the preseason. No significant starters. Everybody blanched. Oh, whoa. And he's like, why? He didn't play any of his starters. Now everybody in the league copies it. They have the least hitting in the NFL during practice. Oh, you can't do... I just saw Lamar Jackson have 1 practice over 2 weeks and beat Dallas. I think they're on the precipice. They're doing some things culturally that nobody else is doing. And you look around this league, it is an attrition league. The Niners have fallen apart. Pittsburgh's fallen apart. Dallas, Philadelphia, Seattle last year. The Rams are, for the 3rd year in a row, overwhelmingly healthy. I mean, I look at them right now. They are Whitworth away from having everybody. 3 healthy backs. 5 healthy receivers, 2 healthy tight ends, 4 healthy offensive linemen. Goff not getting hit much, has never missed a game. Aaron's healthy, Brocker's healthy. The secondary has 1 safety, and by the way, this team drafts a bizarre number of safeties. 1 safety banged up, all the rest of them good, young, and healthy. So there's a little secret sauce to this cultural movement in the NFL about it's a weapons league. Nobody's weapons stay healthier than the Rams. I don't have an answer for it. They've obviously drafted well. They've got very few whiffs, so if Gurley's out, boom, they've got it solved. Robert Woods misses a game, boom, they've got it solved. But some of this, maybe it's luck. I just don't believe in coincidences, fate, and luck. Once again, last night, against one of the more physical teams in New England, not a single player walked off hurt. Like, that's just the way the Ram games go. Joy with the news.
No. Turn on the news. This is the Herd Line News.
By the way, Whitworth, hurt, coming back. And they have a great left tackle from TCU backing him up, who played really well last night.
Their offensive line looked great.
Looked fantastic.
Got sacked 1 time last night, I think.
Yeah.
That stadium is amazing.
Oh my God, it is. It's unbelievable.
It's great.
I feel so bad. You get a new stadium, and nobody can go to it in LA. And LA is very restrictive compared to other states. Like, it's like beyond restrictive.
It's specifically just Los Angeles too. Like, not even
Orange County. Right, just LA County.
We are the only place on Earth, not on Earth, in America where COVID still exists. So Baker Mayfield is coming off his best game of the season, throwing over 300 yards and 4 touchdowns in the win over the Titans.
Yeah.
And the Browns GM Andrew Berry was very impressed with the growth that he has shown in his 3rd NFL season.
I think Baker deserves a lot of credit in terms of how he's approached this year. I don't know that the challenge of going into a 3rd offensive system, no offseason, can be appreciated enough. Externally, that's no easy task for any player, let alone a young quarterback. I think everyone can see his growth really from quarter to quarter to quarter over the course of the season, and he certainly deserves a lot of credit for the work that he's put in.
Yeah, no, I think he does. I totally agree. Now, it does help. I think their offensive line right now this morning is the best in the NFL, and I don't think it's really arguable. So, not taken away, but that part of this league. When Dak came into this league as a rookie, and that Cowboys had the best O-line in the league by a long shot, he went 13-3.
Yeah.
You can't get to the quarterback.
And Zeke looked different as well.
Yeah, Zeke looks really average right now.
Well, I mean, when you look around the league, who are quarterbacks that you think could make it work with just an average offensive line? I think Patrick Mahomes. I mean, he would still not have the numbers he's having
I think
now.
Russell Wilson is doing it with an average O-line.
Russell Wilson, Patrick Mahomes, Lamar, which is they would just have to rely on the running game more.
Aaron Rodgers has a quick release, so he would do okay.
But he doesn't like to get hit, though.
Josh Allen for Buffalo.
Yes.
But I mean,
there's only a handful of guys that
Yeah.
really, if you don't have a solid offensive line, are not going to be able to do what they do.
It unravels almost everybody.
Right. So, there's a lot of factors. And similarly, Carson Wentz, like that's a factor in what's going on with Carson Wentz as
Right.
well, which is why, his teammates are coming out saying it's not all him. But you do still have to go out there and perform, and Baker is doing that. Not only has he done everything that they've asked him to do, he did show in that last game that he's able to throw the ball still if they need him to do that as well, and that's what you want to be. You want to be a team that can win multiple ways. The Titans are a good team. They're very inconsistent, but they are still a good team, and that was the best win that they've had. They should be thrilled with where they are. They're 9-3. They're a good team. I'm not going to put them at great yet. They're second in the AFC North, obviously, to the Steelers.
If they beat the Ravens this weekend,
It's a Monday night game. That's a great Monday night game.
You start getting to a point where maybe you start. I'm going to do my Super Bowl bubble before the end of the hour. I got 6 teams in it. I'm just saying, you're getting close. That's all I'm saying. That's all ET's.
Browns in the Super Bowl bubble?
Never happened on the show. They've never even been on the periphery of the Super Bowl
They've never
bubble.
been on the outside of the bubble. So the Saints have won all 3 games that Taysom Hill has started this season, and that's gone a long way towards the quarterback solidifying his future with the franchise. According to Jeff Duncan of The Athletic, his performance has bolstered the team's confidence in Hill as the eventual heir to Drew Brees' job.
Wow. Well, it's just okay. Ask yourself this: so Taysom Hill is doing what Teddy Bridgewater did. Okay, so they're both winning, right?
But they do not look the same.
No, they're different players. But if Drew would have retired this year and Teddy would have been the starter, I would have been like, yeah, I thought Teddy had like a 5-team market. I would have been like, yeah, next 2 years with Teddy and Peyton. If he starts winning the next 2 games, you get to a point where you think to yourself, you can probably go a year or 2 with Taysom Hill. I'm not saying 9 years.
Yeah, I don't think this is a so I guess you look too much, I think, into the wording of it, like the future of the franchise.
Right.
He's not the future of the franchise, but for the next 3 years, sure, why not? I mean, he's doing the winning that they're asking him to do. Now, again, I would give more credit to Sean Payton, who's putting his entire team in a position to win.
Their defense is
incredible.
It's like the Rams. It's really stacked.
And they have a lot of weapons
Yeah.
for Taysom Hill as well. But he deserves credit. Like he's going out there and getting the wins.
Yeah.
And I mean, I was not sure what to expect. So I'm impressed. This weekend's game is going to be very interesting, though. We're all going to be watching because we want to see what Jalen Hurts does for the Eagles. I mean, obviously, I think the Saints are going to win that game. I just don't think the Eagles have enough. But they have the Chiefs, Vikings, and at the Panthers left on their schedule. So they don't have an easy schedule for the rest of the way. Drew Brees, obviously, still injured. So I think we may see him against the Chiefs, depending on, if they feel that he's 100%. He was already practicing last week.
Yeah.
So we'll keep an eye on that. But either way, Taysom's doing everything that they're asking him to do. And if Drew Brees retires this year, they already paid Taysom. So...
Well,
and Jameis is still on the roster. Maybe you keep him as well.
No.
So Paul George agreed to a 4-year, $190 million max extension with the Clippers. The team proved their commitment to him long term, and he says he feels an obligation to finally get the Clippers an NBA title.
That's what I owe this organization. I love being here. I love the family that I've created in my first year. And this is where I want to be. This is home. Ultimately, this is where my legacy, where I want to leave the biggest imprint on.
Well, in fairness to Paul, because people are going to beat up on Paul for this, they lost Landry Shamet and Montrezl Harrell, and they don't have a true point guard, as Doug Gottlieb has told me before. They don't. There is a scarcity issue. Who's on the market? Like, Paul is still a very good basketball player. I know Paul. Paul's a good dude. He's at the place he wants to play, and there is a reason to believe that he's going to propel you into top seeds in the West going forward with Kawhi. So can all say he's getting too much money, but you got to have somebody next to Kawhi. And I like Lou Williams, but he's off the bench. They don't have a point guard. They lost 2 really good bench players. I think in the market, this is what you got to pay. If I ran the Clippers, this is what I would pay for Paul George.
Yeah, I mean, it's every team's going to pay somebody. And like,
he's a 23
you're
point
going, you're going to pay him.
He's
yeah,
a very
he
good
averaged
defender.
21.5 points in the regular season, 5.7 rebounds, 3.9 assists per
And he
game.
defends. He
Shoots
defends.
43, basically 44% field goal percentage. The problem is, you have championship expectations, and he's 41-48 in the playoffs. In Game 7 against the Nuggets, which they never should have gone to in the first place. He had 10 points.
Okay, let me defend him, though. And again, I've criticized him. Giannis hasn't done it in the playoffs. Harden hasn't done it. Westbrook hasn't done it. Paul George is not making what they're making. So, and those people I'm told are MVPs. Paul, to me, has always been an A-, B+. I think the criticisms of Paul are fair, but we have a scarcity issue. The Clippers lost a coach, 2 bench players, and don't have a point.
No, they absolutely had to pay him. And I have no problem. I don't care. I'm not paying him.
Right.
Like, I have no problem with anyone making money. Make all the money you can. And you're right. Like, there's not just Paul George is just walking around. Like, he's a great player. Not everyone's a champion. That's just like that's really what it is. Like, he can be a great player and not be the key that's going to take them to the next level. To me, it's on Kawhi. Kawhi's the one that's won rings. He's the star.
Yes.
So it's really to me the burden of responsibility to bring the Clippers a championship is really on Kawhi, but he needs Paul George to do better than 10 points in Game 7, which they never should have gotten to in the first place.
Yeah. Listen, all these contracts are not ideal. Sometimes you swallow hard as a team and you're like...
But I mean, who else are you going to pay?
Well, again, it's just like, listen, there's a lot of times in life, in sports, especially the NBA, you got to pay a guy and you know it comes with stuff, right? Joy with the news.
Well, that's the news.
And thanks for stopping by.
The Herd Lie News.
My friend Gottlieb, the Duggar, he's got a great podcast, by the way, All Ball with Doug Gottlieb on iTunes, and he is joining me now live, brought to you by Mercedes-Benz, the best or nothing. You know, Paul, you and I were talking on the phone this morning about this, is that, you know, I've seen this a lot in a lot of different areas where I said Popovich and Belichick, they're both brilliant. I don't deny it. But the more you win, it's human nature. You get a little arrogant, you talk more about the system, and systems are really dependent on a Duncan or a Brady. They really are. The triangle was dependent on a Michael or the late Kobe. And I look at the Patriots today, Doug, and you can talk about system, but that system's not, I mean, your takeaway on what you watched last night, that wasn't that competitive.
No, it wasn't, but like, we're being fair. I think Bill Belichick's maybe done his best coaching job ever this year. That team has won 6 games. He had 8 players opt out with COVID concerns, including Dante Hightower, one of his 2 best defensive players. The best defensive player in the league was shut down for half the season, most of the season with the Patriots. He doesn't have Julian Edelman. Cam Newton can't throw a football, and they have 6 wins. I'm going to completely... this morning, I met you halfway on the phone. Now, I honestly completely disagree with you. And you mentioned Popovich. There isn't a system with Popovich. People forget, when he first won a championship, he had Tim Duncan and he had David Robinson. They ran a dual post system. Then they morphed and changed. There were 3 different styles they played offensively. Same thing with the Patriots. When Tom Brady first got there, it was about defense, special teams, just scoring enough points. Then, you know, they used their running backs a ton out of the backfield to catch the ball. Then, when he had Randy Moss, they didn't win a Super Bowl, but they're the best team in football. They threw the ball deep down the field. Then, late in Brady's run there, everything was underneath option routes, Wes Welker, Julian Edelman, Danny Amendola, right? So, it's not the system. It's the idea of how you run a football franchise or a basketball franchise. You're right if you tell me no one's ever done it without players, and the Patriots don't have players or championship caliber players, and the Spurs don't have championship caliber players. You're right there. But where I disagree with you is, like, you watched that team last night and you're like, oh my God, how did they win a game? They didn't win a game. They won 6 games with that mess. And my takeaway is much like yours. Cam Newton's washed, and it's a miracle they've won this many football games.
Yeah, it became, you know, it's like there's a market for Teddy Bridgewater because Teddy wins. And there's a market for Garoppolo. Say what you want. When he quarterbacks the Niners, they win more. Cam ain't winning the last 16 games, Carolina, New England. And it looks painful. I mean, his swing passes look, he doesn't transition his body weight. I mean, I just can't believe you go back to this, right? Which, if you're New England?
I don't know what they do. Obviously, Jared Stidham's been waiting for an opportunity. They don't seem to have bought into him. But you and I speak to NFL front office people, different teams, and I talked to 3 teams who everybody thought were in the market for a quarterback and were mentioned, and they all said the same thing. Like, I have no interest in Cam. It has nothing to do with the hats or the persona or anything. He had shoulder surgery. It wasn't right. He had it cleaned up. It's still not right. And I don't care what you show on YouTube videos or on Instagram in the offseason. He got his body in shape. No one's ever questioned his body, even his brain. He can't throw a football accurately. He was never accurate, and now he has some sort of shoulder issue where his throwing motion isn't right. You compound that with the fact that he's never had great fundamentals, and that seems to have slipped. And I don't know how you make Cam Newton a starter ever. His best option, if he wants to stay in the NFL, is to be a backup to a guy like Lamar Jackson, where, look, he can give you some advice. He's totally respected in the league for what he's been able to accomplish, but he can't be a starting quarterback in the National Football League if you hope to win. I think he's got great value in television more so than on a football.
Oh yeah, so do I. I think he's got media written all over him. I want to segue to a couple NBA topics. First of all, I've seen Jason Tatum sign, and AD, and LeBron, and I'm seeing guys sign. Some opt out, they come back. Regardless of the mechanism in which they signed, they all signed. Paul George just signed, and Giannis has a supermax, which, by the way, they're non-negotiable. Here's the money if you want it, and he's not signing. I'm trying to read the room here. It's not unlike this is not a negotiable contract. It's a lot of money. Here it is, and he's not signing. Is he leaving? What does that mean to you?
Well, it's like if you talk to a friend and he's been dating a girl for a year, and you go, is she the one? You're like, I don't know. Yeah, you do. You know, she's not the one. You just don't want to go through all the hoops of having to start again, find somebody else, right? You know when you know. And it's pretty obvious that he knows. They made a massive deal, and I thought an upgrade in getting Drew Holiday.
Yeah.
Drew Holiday, one of the more underrated players in the NBA. He can guard, he can play with, without the basketball. And the Bucks, they have a new practice facility. A new arena. Everything is set up for him. And if he's not signing, then he's telling you he's leaving. And the interesting part, though, to it is, you mentioned contracts. I heard you discussing with Joy.
Yeah.
Here's the thing. This is where the NBA is not the real world. In any other job in the real world,
even sports,
okay, if your corporation, if your business, they underachieve based upon expectation, they don't hit their number, right? And you don't perform well at the most important time, and your leader gets fired, would you ever think that you deserve the most money that anybody can get in your profession? Like, I get that it's a scarcity issue, but Paul George gives me this, well, this is where I want to be. It's where we want to be, and you're loyal. Loyalty is actually taking less money than you could get. Loyalty is not taking the most money you could get, especially when other members of your team don't believe that you have the stuff it takes to be a champion. The reason that there's such a disconnect between reality and James Harden or Kyrie Irving calling media members, what is it, pawns, right? That's what I don't talk to pawns. The reason there's because they don't live in the real world. Because in the real world, Paul George doesn't get a massive raise after what he threw out there last year for the Lakers.
No, I mean, even like movie stars, like a George Clooney, if you have 2 bombs, you don't get the money. like there's an accountability, even in entertainment where we all think everybody's overpaid. There is an expectation that you have to deliver a hit, but I do think
one would think.
Yeah, I mean, it's the business of basketball, and there's not Paul George a really good player. There's not a lot of guys out there that I need to, if I want to compete against the Lakers, I got to have a second really good player. What do I do?
Yes, but do you have to give him $226 million? $45 million a year.
I know.
This is very much like if we track the downfall of the Houston Rockets, right? We track the downfall. I like the move for Chris Paul. They didn't necessarily love playing together or love being around each other, but it made James Harden better. But remember, Chris Paul gets hurt.
Yeah.
He gets hurt in the playoffs. They lose, and the Rockets give him the biggest extension anybody could give him at the time because they promised it to him when they acquired him. Well, like, that's fine, but look, dude, you destroy our franchise. the only person they could trade him for is Russell Westbrook, and then Russell Westbrook makes it worse, and now they fire the coach and the general manager, and they trade Russell Westbrook, and here we are again, where they're a mess. But you can track these bad contracts, while they are movable, they can begin the downfall of a championship franchise. I still think the Clippers have a shot to win this thing.
All right, Doug, we got to run. Duggar, after our show, All Ball is podcast, gets a lot of listens as well. It's great. Thanks, man.
Thank you.
Okay, so I told Joy, I only do it about once a month. I do a Super Bowl bubble. And there's always about 7 or 8 teams that are in. So I've got mine now. And in the history of the Super Bowl bubble, which is ours exclusively, although we don't own the rights or anything, I've never had Cleveland anywhere sniffing it. Not close to it. But some things in life change, and you've just got to adapt. And we'll talk about that plus Blazing 5 top of the hour coming up next.
Be sure to catch live editions of The Herd weekdays at noon Eastern, 9 a.m. Pacific.
Are you dealing with best life burnout, constantly striving for more, and quite frankly, over it? Maybe you just want more joy, peace, and laughter in your life now. Well then, let's go. Welcome to your new favorite podcast, Hot Happy Mess, hosted by me, your girl, Zuri Hall. Join us each week as we discuss dating, relationships, self-care, career wins and losses, and so much more. Oh, and moments like this. You know what? Sometimes the grass is greener on the other side because it's fake.
Well, that's why I mentioned muting. There are some people who will check you.
Oh, we got some petty people in our lives. I was crying by the water because I was happy.
And I do love a clear.
Wine will be spilled, laughs will be had, and a few tears might be shed. Messes will be made, but we're gonna find our magic in the middle of them. Don't miss new episodes every Monday. Find Hot Happy Mess on the iHeartRadio app, Apple Podcasts, or wherever you get your podcasts.
My name is Lowell Berlanti, and I created the podcast Prodigy to find the answer to a very complicated question. Can genius be created? I asked academics, researchers, scientists, and the prodigies themselves to gain a better understanding of intelligence, skill acquisition, and expert performance. So disregard all simple explanations, because complex questions require complex answers. Listen to Prodigy every Thursday on the iHeartRadio app, Apple Podcasts, or wherever you get your podcasts.
On the road during the holidays, can't afford to have a car breakdown. Sign up, customizable and flexible plans, carshield.com. Top of next hour, we have our Blazing 5 picks. We had a 3-2 week last week. Almost got the Eagles to cover backdoor. We were crossing our fingers, and Aaron Jones just ruined our life, but that's life. We still had a winning week. So to me, there's the 3 NFL games that I'm really going to zone in on this weekend are Minnesota playing Tom Brady in Tampa off a bye. Pittsburgh at Buffalo on Sunday Night Football is a really good Sunday Night Football game, and then Baltimore at Cleveland on Monday Night Football. And there's a reason I'm going to watch those games. So I do a Super Bowl bubble. I do it about once a month. These are the teams I think, and some of them are coming off an ugly loss. Some have an injury I don't like, but they have enough things I think that make them a Super Bowl eligible team. So my Super Bowl bubble right now has Buffalo, Kansas City in the AFC, then the Rams, Green Bay Saints in Seattle. I know Seattle's coming off an ugly loss, but I like them right now. Now, the 3 teams I have on the outside, the perimeter of it, are the 3 teams in the 3 biggest games. If they win or do something that I don't think they're capable of, then they're in. And that would give us 9 Super Bowl teams. And again, one of these could lose this weekend and be out. So let's take Tampa. They're 1-3 since Antonio Brown arrived. It doesn't fit. They feel like they're forcing it. They're inconsistent. They're off a bye. Arians and Brady are both great off buys. Strange. December buys are not as effective as October and November buys in the NFL. It's weird. It's a betting thing. December buys usually aren't as reliable. But if Tampa comes out and can't show me they've used these 10 to 14 days to kind of give me an identity offensively. You know, the Patriots system for years was we don't collect players, we build teams. Right now, Tampa looks like they've collected a bunch of players. I don't feel like there's a symmetry between run game, pass game. So I need to see them not only beat Minnesota, even if it's narrow, but do I feel like offense Offensively, oh, this is what they are. They've got an identity. I don't know what their personality is on offense. Let's talk Pittsburgh. They can't run the football. They're absurdly reliant on Big Ben. Big Ben in his career is a 500 quarterback since he entered this league when asked to throw over 35 times a game. When asked to throw under it, he's won 4 to 5 games. Can they run the ball a little against Buffalo? Can they go on the road with an equal team and a young Big Ben, Josh Allen, and get a little bit of a running game? Because if you're asking them to throw in Buffalo in December 51 times, you're not a Super Bowl team. The third is Cleveland. First of all, I think they have the best offensive line in the league, and PFF says, at least they did last week, it's the best run blocking and pass blocking. That's really rare. That's the Cowboys about 4 years ago. That is really rare. And that ensures that Baker's going to have time, they have a running game, and they're going to win a bunch of games. Trent Dilfer said this years ago, everybody in the NFL, when they lose, acts the same. They're pissed, they put their head down, they're focused. What do you do when you win? That's the difference. Some guys buy this, some guys do that, some guys, they lose focus. So Cleveland just had, in my opinion, their biggest win in, I don't even know how many years, 10, 15. Like, go to Tennessee, a team that was lightning in a bottle last year, Vrabel's very respected, Derrick Henry, and really crush them for the first hour and a half of the football game. Just roll them over. But then Cleveland was awful in the second half, and what are they going to do now? Monday Night Football, standalone game. The nation is turning in to see you against the divisional rival. If they put back-to-back wins together, and this is the big TV game, this isn't getting lost on a Sunday. This is, everybody's going home to watch. Baker and the Browns, and its divisional rival, they're off their biggest win. If they go out, and they don't even actually, to me, have to win. Can they be turnover-free? Can they look energized? Can they be focused? Can they be low on penalties? 26-24 either way, I'm like, okay, that's a grown-up, because Baltimore's a real team. I think Baltimore's better than people think. They're a real team. And if Cleveland wins or is really looks smart and like adult, like they're into a Super Bowl bubble. So that's where we stand today. Now, Joy's got another story. It's not worth more than a couple minutes, but it is an interesting story. The Final Four in college football right now are Bama, Notre Dame, Clemson, Ohio State. Dabo Swinney was asked about Ohio State, which only played 5 games, and he responded with what, Joy Taylor?
Well, he said, he's a coach, so, it doesn't really matter. But if he was on a committee, he said he thinks there just has to be some type of standard. If I was on a committee, it would be hard for me to leave out a 10-1 Texas A&M or an 11-game Florida team over a team that's played 6 games. That would be hard for me if I was on a committee. But I'm not on the committee, so it doesn't really matter.
Yes, this is a fair argument. Now, I do think the eye test matters. I know people, it's elitist. It's not elitist. Having eyes is not elitist. You have them too. I don't believe that's elitist. I do believe Ohio State, based on recruiting, performance, their wins, it's a crazy year, COVID. I think you just have to adjust, figure it out. The Big Ten did. I would put them in. But I will say, if Florida, Dan Mullen, an unbelievable coach with an NFL quarterback, Kyle Trask, played Ohio State, I think it's a very good football game, and it's a go-either-way game. I would take Ohio State, but it's a go-either-way game. That's the it would be one thing if you looked at Florida, sized them up, and you didn't think they had a good coach, and they had a non-NFL quarterback, and you were like, Ohio State would win this game. The line would be around 3 points. So you've got a world-class coach at Florida and an NFL quarterback in the first round. There's going to be those that argue Florida over, like, I get it. Like, that's a legitimate argument. I would take Ohio State, but I get the Florida argument and Dabo's argument. Oh, God, Clemson, Ohio State play. I can't wait. Blazing 5 on a Friday. Next.
You're going to come into a new season of joy and fulfillment like you've never seen.
Hi, I'm Joel Osteen. I have a daily podcast where I talk about overcoming obstacles, accomplishing dreams, and becoming all you were created to be.
You may have had some disappointments in the past, but this is a new day. Keep feeding your hopes, feeding your dreams. Use your energy to feed your destiny.
Listen to the Joel Osteen Daily Podcast on the iHeartRadio app or wherever you get your podcasts.
You know exactly where you were when the Golden State Killer was arrested. You're a moderator on the Zodiac Killer subreddit. You're in search of a new challenge. Enter Solve, the hit podcast that puts you at the center of the investigation. Solve is like no other murder mystery podcast. You'll piece together evidence to track down killers hiding in plain sight. Your case Podcasts, or wherever you get your podcasts. One crime, four suspects. Can you solve it?
You already know that the challenge is the most heart-pounding competition show on television.
But do you ever wonder how challenge competitors are selected or which challenges were too dangerous for TV?
Well, you can learn all that and so much more on MTV's official challenge podcast.
Hosted by your girl Tori and me, Anissa, we're giving you the inside scoop on the brand new season of the challenge. Let's go, baby.
Listen to MTV's official challenge podcast on the iHeartRadio app, Apple Podcasts, or wherever you get your podcasts.
I'm Debbie Brown, the host of the Dropping Gems podcast, a podcast about the depth and potential of personal growth. No one's journey is the same as the next, but the magic of being human shows up in the things we have in common. Our capacity for love, pain, joy, sadness, togetherness, and solitude are things that make us perfectly imperfect. And I want to explore with you how we can live our best through it all. The new season of Dropping Gems is available now. Listen to Dropping Gems on the iHeartRadio app, Apple Podcasts, or wherever you listen to podcasts.
Thanks for listening to The Herd Podcast. Be sure to catch us live every weekday from 12 to 3 Eastern, 9 to noon Pacific on Fox Sports Radio and FS1. Find your local station for The Herd at foxsportsradio.com or stream us live every day on the iHeartRadio app by searching Herd.
You're listening to Fox Sports Radio.
Here we go on a Friday, hour 2, 10 o'clock Pacific, 1 o'clock Eastern hour, live in Los Angeles. This is The Herd, wherever you may be and however you may be listening. iHeartRadio, Fox Sports Radio, and right here on FS1. Eric Mangini in 15 minutes. Joy Taylor is joining me. I'm going to go skiing tomorrow with my kids. What are you doing this weekend?
Sit in my house.
Watch sports?
Watch sports and TV. I finished Schitt's Creek last night.
You finished it?
So sad. That was like my comfort show.
And that show, that's my wife's favorite show. That show won everything, right?
Everything. It's such a fantastic show.
Damn.
But like I'll watch like one drama or suspense or something show. Like I like True Detective. Watching The Undoing, but I need like a nice like happy show.
Of course.
I can't like add to my anxiety.
No, I do a lot of
2020. So I like a nice light happy show.
Yeah, true crime is my favorite, but it can get dark.
Yeah, I can only handle so much dark.
Yeah.
I need a little laughter.
Occasionally.
Yeah.
I think a lot of people feel that about that Dan Levy show. That's really
funny. It's a great show.
And what's her name? O'Hara?
Catherine O'Hara.
Oh, God, she's so quirky and funny.
Amazing.
The
It's
Mom
such a
and
great
Home
show.
Alone. Yeah, she's so great. All odds provided by Fox Bet. Here we go on a Friday off a winning week. Our Blazing Five.
That's a hot one. Let's blaze it up. Fire it up. It's Colin. Blazing 5. Titans at Jaguars.
I'm going to take the Titans minus 7.5. I know there's a hook there, and bettors tend to not like the hooks, but I'm going to swallow it here. I think we have a rout on our hands. Tennessee is a very good team that was humiliated at home last week. You know my rule. Bet them the following week. They did outscore Cleveland 38-3 in the second half. Their offense, though lacking what appears to be firepower, is top 5 in the NFL in yards per play. That's a huge Vegas stat. The Jags' defense is awful. Worst in the league. They've not held an opponent under 24 points since week 1. Huge coaching advantage. Tennessee, I like this as my rout of the weekend. Titans bounce back 36-23. What are the Jags playing for at this point? I don't know.
Chiefs at Dolphins.
I'm going to take the Fins, Miami +7. This game feels like all Miami games, kind of close and ugly. We talk a lot about offense, but Kansas City's defense is clearly the second best defense in this game. The data tells you it is slipping. Dolphins' defense is first in the league on third down. Translation, we'll get Patrick Mahomes off the field. They did that with Russell Wilson. Kansas City's defense is the 6th worst rushing defense, and in the last month it's gotten worse. The Chiefs have not won by more than 6 points in any of their last 4 games. What I think you have here, you have a Miami offense that can run it, doesn't turn it over, excellent defense at home, and a Kansas City offense that sort of lacks a certain urgency. I think they'll win, but Miami games look the same every weekend. They are the best bet in the NFL. 9-3 against the spread this year, the Dolphins. That's the best in the NFL, and I like them here. Chiefs win. Dolphins cover.
Cardinals and Giants.
Okay, this is the game you should bet the least on. I like the Giants plus 2.5, but the reason I'm worried is everybody likes the Giants this week. You walk into a bar, hey, who are you guys betting, Giants or Cardinals? Everybody says Giants. I think they have a coaching edge. I think they're at home. I think they are better than their record, and I like their defensive line, offensive line matchup here. But I am concerned that they just came off their biggest win in several years, and the world now loves the Giants. What concerns me more for Arizona, Kyler Murray, last 3 games, is struggling. Their defense has allowed over 30 in 3 of the last 4 games. They've lost 4 of 5 and are a Hail Mary from being 0 for their last 5. And although I think Cliff Kingsbury did a very good job, brought some new things to the table during the offseason, so in September and October early, we all kind of fell in love with Arizona. They have not shown a second gear. The Giants are just getting better every week, and I feel like Arizona is getting a little worse. I'm going to take the Giants to win, but close though. The weather's like 58 and sunny. It's not a weather advantage. 27-24 New York Giants.
Steelers and Bills.
Been saying it all week. I'll take Buffalo and swallow 2 points. Bills -2. First of all, they're a Hail Mary pass away from being 6-0 in their last 6 games, and they outplayed Arizona. The Steelers, as I talked about earlier today, are becoming so Ben-reliant, it's comical. They don't even attempt to run the football. I think Buffalo, and I was told this early in the season, and I didn't buy it. Josh Allen, outside of Mahomes, maybe the second best young quarterback in this league, and he is getting better. He is getting better. The Steelers as an offense are getting worse. Buffalo at home, they have the most fourth quarter takeaways in the NFL, and why is this significant? They don't have a great defense, but it is situationally fantastic. What does that mean? Really well-coached football team. They may not have their offensive coordinator in a month. Brian Dable is going to get a head coaching job. This staff between Dable and Sean McDermott is unbelievable. Their GM just got an extension. It's a brain trust in Buffalo, and I like him to win and beat Pittsburgh by a touchdown, 28-21.
Ravens at Browns.
Like it, I love it. I'll take Cleveland. Teams are different. Some get hurt, some get healthy, some don't have an identity, some do. Cleveland has found their identity. This is the 2 best running offenses in the NFL, but the Browns have only allowed 6 sacks since week 7. This is the best offensive line in the league, and the coaches have figured it out. If you go to week 7, the Ravens since then have a -6 sack differential, Browns +10. Turnover differential, Ravens -3, Browns +3. The Ravens have lost 4 of 6 games. I struggle with their offensive identity. Do they want Lamar to run? Do they not? Let's not get him hurt, but we need him. Cleveland is at home. They're getting points. They are the better football team. I said last week they matched up very well with Tennessee. I didn't know if they had the oomph, the gravitas in them to win. They did. I do worry a little bit about their maturity of winning back-to-back games, Monday Night Football, Baker's spotlight. Will he go a little cray? I worry about that. Cleveland's the better football team. They've been the better football team since week 7. They have the better identity. They have the better offensive line. I'm going to take Cleveland. Biggest win in how many years? 28-26. I think they're the better team. I think it'll be close. It's a divisional game. It's a divisional rivalry. These games are all, you know the personnel. You're not fooling anybody. I like Cleveland here. In fact, it's, I got some money on it. Not gonna lie. That's my, go to our, check out the Fox Bet social platforms for all of my picks. So I took favorite Tennessee, favorite Buffalo, then some dogs. So, so New England just got, it was really bad last night. It was ugly. I mean, you can lose, and then it's like ugly. That was ugly. And Bill Belichick was in just a terrific mood when asked about Cam Newton after the game.
You're going to stick with Cam next week at quarterback?
Yeah, great question, Mike. I'm really glad you asked that. Cam's our quarterback.
What has Cam showed you to stick by him so much?
He's our quarterback. I think they just answered that one done.
Yeah, it's a wonderful mood. I don't think there's a market for Cam. I think I said this before with Teddy Bridgewater. There's a market for him because Teddy wins. I think there's a market for Garoppolo. I think he wins. I think Teddy, the market may have been 3 to 4 to 5 teams. I think Garoppolo 2 to 3 to 4 teams. Cam doesn't win enough, and it's just painful to watch him. It's just hard to watch. Everything looks difficult. But this goes back to something I talked about 3 years ago. When I said it 3 years ago, I got nothing but pushback, and I think today most of you will agree with me. Is that athletes age differently. I compared Cam to Russell Westbrook 3 years ago, and Russell was like MVP guy. Nobody wanted to hear this. I said he's going to age poorly. He's going to age poorly as you age in basketball. Cam and Westbrook's games are so driven by physicality. But as you watch the NFL change to an efficiency league, Cam's not efficient as a player. As you watch the NBA change to a shooter's league, Westbrook can't shoot threes. Westbrook at times is painful to watch shoot. Cam last night is painful at times to watch throw. Is that players age differently. Sometimes the culture, the sport moves away from you. Sometimes, Steph Curry, it moves into you. Shoot more threes. And I think Westbrook, the game's moved away from his physicality. That's not the league. He doesn't really have moves. He just blows past you. And increasingly, over the next 4 or 5 years, Russell won't blow by as many people. He'll have to shoot more, and it just gets uglier and uglier. And I think similar to Cam, you got to do better in the pocket. And his game is, the sport has moved away from him. He's had an injury, and I think it's painful to watch. Last 16 games, he's won 6. He's got 5 touchdown passes. This is Carolina and New England. He's a 74 passer rating guy, 75. So, I think when you rely on physicality for your game, you don't age as well. And I said that it was a baseball player years ago, Jose Reyes, played for the Mets, and I remember saying this at ESPN when I was there. I said, he's a great player, but somebody paid him a big contract, and I'm like, his sport is legs. It's not going to age well. He's going to just go. You see this with wide receivers oftentimes, speed wide receivers. They lose the speed, you don't have the game. Receivers like Steve Smith Sr., who run great routes, Hines Ward, big blocking receivers. It's different based on what is your game. Robert Woods for the Rams, by the way, could play a long time if he's healthy. He's a great blocking wide receiver. He's a very good route running wide receiver. He's not really a guy based on speed. He's fast but not a burner. Tyreek Hill's game may not age as well. It's all about burning. It's all about just running past people. So I think Cam and Westbrook, there's a similarity here. I think it can be painful. The game's moved away, very dependent on physicality, and I just don't. I don't see a market for Cam. There wasn't a market before he got to the Patriots. It was mostly a prove-it contract, and I don't think anybody's watching that in the NFL right now saying, I got to have that. I just don't see it. Eric Mangini, he's got 3 rings, got him with New England. His thoughts on last night in the league. Big Sunday coming up. Eric Mangini.
Want more Herd? The Herd streams 24 hours a day, 7 days a week within the iHeartRadio app. Search Herd to listen live or on demand whenever you like.
Are you dealing with best life burnout, constantly striving for more, and quite frankly, over it? Maybe you just want more joy, peace, and laughter in your life now. Well then let's go. Welcome to your new favorite podcast, Hot Happy Mess, hosted by me, your girl, Zuri Hall. Join us each week as we discuss dating, relationships, self-care, career wins and losses, and so much more. Oh. And moments like this. You know what? Sometimes the grass is greener on the other side because it's fake.
Well, that's why I mentioned muting. There are some people who will check you.
Oh, we got some petty people in our lives.
I was crying by the water because I was happy.
And I do love a clear.
Wine will be spilled, laughs will be had, and a few tears might be shed. Messes will be made, but we're gonna find our magic in the middle of them. Don't miss new episodes every Monday. Find Hot Happy Mess on the iHeartRadio app, Apple Podcasts, or wherever you get your podcasts.
Do you ever think about how you're gonna die? I think I'm going to choke to death, specifically on a Cool Ranch Dorito.
I'm definitely slipping in the shower. I'm for sure gonna die taking a selfie. Anyway.
Hey, I'm Gabby.
I'm Taylor. I'm Nika.
And we're the hosts of a new podcast called
Cadaver Gals. We're just 3 fun and flirty gals talking about all the fun and flirty ways that people expire.
Like how 3 people died because of a poodle.
And how you shouldn't trust your ex-boyfriend to help you get rid of a body.
We'll also find out about all of Nika's boyfriends.
That is untrue, and we will find out that Taylor's a horse girl. And Gabby is...
the best one.
Okay, Gabby. Basically, this podcast is kind of like Sex and the City if they only talked about dead people. Join us as we laugh, but mostly cry, in the face of death. We'll also learn how to grow as people through the power of friendship.
So listen to Cadaver Gals for your weekly dose of chaos.
Cadaver Gals is a production of School of Humans and iHeartRadio. New episodes out on Wednesdays.
Listen to Cadaver Gals on the iHeartRadio app, Apple Podcasts, or wherever you get your podcasts. Start Saturday strong with the Rocky Mountain rivalry as Fox as number 21 Colorado looks to secure a spot in the Pac-12 championship when they host Utah. It all starts with big noon kickoff at 10 a.m. Eastern, followed by big noon Saturday, only on Fox.
All right, we're making it work. That's all I know. College football, we're just making it work as much as we possibly can. Eric Mangini, 3 years with Cleveland, with the Jets, couple of years with the Browns. He's now joining me as he often does on Friday. 3 rings with the Patriots. All right, you watched the Patriots last night. Are there solutions easy? I look at them, and in an increasingly weapons-driven league, tight end, wide receiver, quarterback, I just don't see a lot of speed. I don't see dynamic game changers. I see them all over the field for the Rams. How do you solve this mess? This is not great. Like, how do you solve this stuff?
Well, I don't think it's a short-term solve. The most disappointing part of that game for me last night was what New England did defensively. I mean, rarely do you see them get gashed like that in the running game and jump off sides on 4th and 1, and some of those things to me are uncharacteristic, and I think will get fixed. You know, from an offensive perspective, it's they're transitioning from the O line. Losing Dante Scarnecchia as the O line coach hurts them. The other thing that was surprising last night is guys running free, not even getting a hat for hat on some of the Rams sacks. It's gonna be fixed, and I think last night was a little bit more of an aberration than necessarily the way it's going to trend.
But I've said this, Eric, and I've seen this in every industry I've ever. I used to work at a big company, ESPN, and they were formidable and they were dominant. And you start believing in your system, you start listening to less people outside of your sphere, you start believing into your good press. And I look at New England, and the more Super Bowls they win, the worse they are at drafting offensive players outside of the O-line. And the arrogance is a real human trait for successful, rich people. And some of this is, I look at them, boy, Eric, they don't draft offense very well. Frankly, they don't have a lot of players that anybody would else want. Isn't that a fair criticism?
It's an absolutely fair criticism. But when you look at arrogance, a lot of people become arrogant after one Super Bowl. We see that all the time in the NFL, where a team wins a Super Bowl and they're giving everybody else advice on how to repeat, and they never even sniff the Super Bowl again. New England's had 20 years of success and unprecedented Super Bowl victories. So to look at them with the same sort of guise of arrogance of big corporations, or I don't think that's fair. I don't think they have done typically a great job of drafting offensive talent. That's not necessarily a strength, and they've been able to do that because having Tom Brady, who maximizes the intellectual side and takes advantage of coverages, has been able to cover that.
Yeah. By the way, it's all said and done. Now, Tom, if he wins this weekend, they'll be poised for a wild card slot. New England's not doing anything. The divorce, the breakup, today. What's your opinion on it, both sides?
But look, I think both sides would have been better together. I think that Tom in Tampa is going through that frustration of having to learn a system. And the reason you bring Tom Brady in is he's not lighting it up athletically. He's lighting it up because he understands what the coverages are. He understands how the offense works. He understands how to get the ball into the right place. And when you now force a guy like that to learn, you're not maximizing his impact on the team. And I think what we just talked about with New England, he'd be able to maximize the ability in New England because of his time with Josh McDaniels, because of how well he knew the system, and both would be better off if they'd stayed another year together.
So you live in Cleveland, and Monday Night Football, this is a big stage. Baltimore's been in dozens of games, Harbaugh, and I like Cleveland this weekend, but you know that. You coached in Cleveland, and you coached in the Jets, and sometimes non-traditional powers get into these big stages after a win, Eric, and they're just feeling themselves. I mean, I know we're laughing, but we this is a real thing. And how do you think Cleveland responds Monday night in their biggest game in a decade off a great win?
Well, look, I thought the opening game of the season was a little bit of hazing of Kevin Stefanski when you put a rookie head coach with two rookie coordinators against the Ravens and all that experience with no preseason, well, all the challenges. So now, fast forward to where we are now. What I love about the Browns and the way that Kevin's handled the team and the way that the team has responded is you're not hearing about all the other stuff. Nobody's complaining about what Colin Cowherd said about him on his show. Nobody's talking about what they're going to do in the playoffs. They're just focusing on the next challenge. It's so refreshing to hear and to see. And I think they've got a really good coaching staff, and I think they've got a great opportunity not just to win this game, but to make a bunch of noise moving forward.
Let's do the opposite of that, which is the Steelers, which have a remarkable history and brand, but they can't run the football. They don't attempt to run the football. Aaron Rodgers right now is 14th in the league in attempts. Last year, Mahomes was 18th. Russell Wilson was 22nd when he won a Super Bowl. Aaron was 14th when he won a Super Bowl. Big Ben's number one. He's averaging 50 throws a game. I think we buy into him because of the brand, and I watched him again last weekend, and I'm like, man, I don't like where they're at. My feeling is you do. Let's update the Steelers' opinion today.
Well, look, I know there was a study on another one of our shows that talked about the first 8 years of Big Ben versus the second 8 years and how much he threw the ball and their success. But if you look at that, the first 8 years that Ben was in the league, they had a top 3 defense or better, scoring defense or better, 6 out of those 8 years. Over the past 8 years, they haven't. This is the first year they've even sniffed that situation. So Ben's had to carry the load. It's easier to run the ball when you're playing really good defense. Now that being said, to establish a running game and to be able to build off the running game, every team needs it, and Seattle's learning about that as much as anybody this year. So do I think the numbers are skewed? Yes and no. I think that the defense has changed dramatically. And if I was going to put the team in anybody's hands, to me it'd be Ben Roethlisberger.
By the way, the Wentz topic has been fascinating for us because I do think if he went to the Colts and Frank Reich and got better, I don't think his salary, at least for the Colts, is an issue. I mean, again, $35 million for a good quarterback is what you pay. But for the Eagles, I guess I could make the argument that if they moved Wentz, they're not paying Jalen Hurts anything, so the quarterback position wouldn't be that punitive, although it's awful to have like that dead cap money. What do you do in Philadelphia today? Well, I mean, seriously, you ran the team. What do you do with the Wentz situation?
Carson Wentz has to work. Carson Wentz has to work, or there's going to be a new head coach. That's just the way it is. And it may not be the short term where he has to work, but when you've got a situation where you've got $59 million in dead cap money, if you move on from him next season, that's a problem. If you've sold your owner on the fact that this is our franchise quarterback, and that he should get a second contract, and he should get that contract early, and then you say, look, he's broken beyond repair, that doesn't fly. And I understand why we're moving to Hurts in the short term. He can move around better than Wentz can. But I watched that game last week, the coach's copy. The O-line has problems. They didn't run the ball very effectively. The receivers weren't getting open. I didn't think they necessarily called a bunch of plays that were as beneficial to Carson as could have possibly been. But if you say that this guy's broken, then to me you probably have a new head coach. With the next quarterback.
By the way, let's go back to the Rams game. Boy, I tell you what, that defense is really good. They've got really nice skill players. I really like them. I know you watch them and like them. Is there something that worries you about the Rams?
Yeah, it's similar to the 49ers. When they were playing the Cardinals, I was thinking about that game, and you look at it and you think, okay, well, Kyler Murray, the Cardinals are relying on him to win the game, and you look at the Rams and you think, okay, they just want to make sure that Jared Goff doesn't lose the game. And that's a difficult situation to be in. You know, his touchdown to interception ratio is a big concern. His overall decision making, kind of like the 49ers with Garoppolo, they had a lot of different ways that they could win. And when they got into the most critical times, they kept taking the ball out of the quarterback's hands. And can you win a Super Bowl doing that way, or go to a Super Bowl that way and not rely on the quarterback? Yeah, you can. It's hard to really get behind him. When you don't feel like they're really behind the quarterback,
so
that same way.
I like Goff better than Garoppolo. Do you?
Yeah. In fairness to Goff, I think that, or actually to Garoppolo, I think that the Rams have done a great job of building the running game and then creating plays off the running game that help Goff quite a bit. I think a lot of quarterbacks of sort of his level and Garoppolo's level would benefit from that. I'd say, yeah, between the two, I would probably lean towards Goff as well.
All right, not much of an endorsement there. That was, it's not like you're giving him.
Well, I didn't hear you endorsing him that wholeheartedly either. It's I like him a little better.
I think he's a slightly more athletic, better deep ball thrower than Matt Ryan. That's what I think he is. I think he throws a better deep.
You think he's a better deep ball thrower than Matt Ryan?
Boy, Matt's arm in the last year or two. Coach, if he's not
I like Matt Ryan better than both those guys.
All right.
Easily.
All right, we'll see you soon, Coach. Enjoy your Ohio winter. I know you love it out there in Cleveland.
Hey, it's 50 degrees here. It's blazing, so.
Okay.
I might go get a tan.
Eric Mangini, good stuff. Joy Taylor with the news.
Heard on the news. This is the Herdline News.
And so it has begun in Brooklyn. Kyrie Irving has refused to talk to the media over several occasions this week. Last Friday, he released a statement instead of a traditional news conference. But that was not enough for the league. They fined him and the Nets $25,000 each because he did not speak with reporters, which is part of his contractual duties to do. Yeah. He reacted to the on Instagram today. He started with a Malcolm X quote and continued by saying, "I pray we use the fine money for the marginalized communities in need, especially seeing where our world is recently. I am here for peace, love, and greatness. So stop distracting me and my team and appreciate the art. We move differently over here. I do not talk to pawns. My attention is worth more." I will say this. I firmly believe in the power of prayer. However, prayers do need to be distributed in spaces where needed. Right. And since you are the VP of the executive committee of the NBA Players Association, you know exactly where the fine money is going to because your committee and the NBA vote on where it goes. So no need for prayer there, Kyrie. You know where it's going.
Yeah, right.
So really, what are you saying? You know where the fine money's going. So to be upset that you're getting fined over something that you signed and agreed to do in your contract, and then being a part of the executive committee of the NBA Players Association,
you have influence.
You also agreed to where that fine money, which you agreed to pay if you didn't talk to the media, was going. What are you saying?
Yeah. Well, in my lifetime, every great player, football, basketball, has always talked to the press. LeBron's unbelievably willing. MJ was willing. Magic was willing. Now, Kareem was a little prickly, but he was always a little bit of a kind of a loner. But I just don't think it's that difficult to answer questions from.
Or don't. But just don't sign a contract that says that you're going to do that or you're going to be fined, and then be upset that you're going to be fined. Right. And then when you make the decision about where the fine goes, say that you need to pray about where it's going because you know exactly where it's going. My thing with Kyrie is, and listen, I love all different kind of personalities. I don't think everyone should be the same or fit in a box, so I have no problem with how Kyrie conducts his business. Just, it feels a little bit like you're taking yourself a little bit too seriously.
Yes, I would say that's fair.
We're nerds. I'll speak for myself. I'm a nerd.
Yeah.
I get paid to give my opinion about what other people do for a living.
Yeah.
So I don't take myself very seriously. I take what I do seriously. But at the end of the day, we're talking about sports. So I'm not God.
Yeah.
But what I will say is, and you don't have to talk to the media. You can get fined, pay as much money as you want to the charities that you've decided where they're going, where the fine money's going. You don't have to talk to the media. Whatever. But you can't decide who tells your story. None of us can.
Right.
Well, control is how we conduct ourselves, how we treat other people, how we talk about other people, and what kind of legacy we leave depending on how we live our lives. So if you're calling the people who cover you and tell your story for a living pawns, don't be upset about how they speak about you.
That's fair.
Like, you can't have it every single way.
Right.
So Jimmy Butler is reacting to the Harden rumors to the Heat. Reportedly, Harden has put the Heat as a list of teams he would like to go to, which is not very surprising.
Yeah, I don't blame him. Of course he wants to play for Miami.
Right. But Jimmy Butler is not paying attention to any of those rumors.
There's a lot of stuff always in the media. I think that he's a hell of a player. I like the group that we have. And I mean, to tell you the truth, I just want the guy to be happy. I think that's what life is about. That's what the game is about.
I think it's a really pretty simple way of saying I don't have an opinion because this is out of my control.
They have Bam, they have Butler, they have Hero, they have Duncan Robinson. They've got kind of a core group of people, and Spoelstra could make it work. But in the end, between the I don't think Jimmy Butler and Harden play the same game. I think Jimmy Butler would be wildly frustrated with James' lack of commitment on the defensive end.
I think that's the part that would not make it work. And the Heat are a culture organization.
Totally.
So that's
Dwayne Wade was a great defender.
This is an organization. If you're going to come to, you have to be willing to work
hard,
and practice hard, full commitment,
both ends.
Yes. So that's why I don't think that it fits. Now listen, like, could the Heat use a scorer like James Harden? Who couldn't?
Right.
Like, who wouldn't want that situation? But the problem is when James Harden comes in, he wants to be the number one guy, and he wants everything to revolve around him, which is fine if you're in Houston, but that's not going to work in Miami.
Yeah, they also have Jimmy Butler gives you about 25 a game. Bam will become an 18-point-a-game guy. Tyler Hero probably becomes the same. I don't think scoring will be the issue. I'm always worried when a team builds great chemistry. Like this is what I worry about Kyrie and KD. When you're like, this is the Clippers. So the Clippers in Brooklyn were these chemistry plays. The following year, the number one criticism when you add better players is, yeah, our chemistry's not good. Chemistry is, I mean, you and I have done this. Chemistry is so hard to build.
It's very important, and I think the Clippers are a great example of what can happen if you don't.
Even if you have the deepest roster in the league.
Yes.
Like Miami's culture was so good. Jimmy Butler was so happy. It's like, okay, I've seen what happens to Brooklyn and the Clippers when you have great chemistry. You bring a star in that doesn't fit. You underachieve. That's what happens every time.
Well, they're not going to trade Jimmy Butler or Bam.
No.
In order for the money to match up too, the Heat would have to include Iguodala and Kelly Olynyk in a trade deal, plus some smaller salary pieces like Precious Achua, Duncan Robinson, Kendrick. And Tyler Hero. They're not going to do all that.
There's no way I'd let Tyler Hero go. No. The whole league is looking for Tyler Hero.
And listen, James Harden is a better player than Tyler Hero. No one's saying that. But
is he better for their culture?
They were in the finals last year.
For a reason.
So are you going to blow all that up for James Harden, and you have to get rid of a lot of pieces? Finally, the Rams made a statement last night, holding the Patriots offense to only 3 points in the win. They looked great. And Sean McVay couldn't be happier with the way his defense is playing. He said, I think, really just the entire unit, I think it's been consistent with what our defense has done all year. They've been such a strong point for our team. I thought our coaches put together a great game plan. These guys have done a great job. They're playing as good as anybody, and now let's see if we can wrap up the regular season like that.
Take the Niners out. They've been great all year.
They feel different than that Super Bowl team, though. Like, that Super Bowl team felt very finesse. This feels like a tougher team.
Defensively, this is a Brockers
had a great night. 2 sacks, 5 tackles.
Yeah,
Aaron Donald, 1.5 sacks. They're number 3 in scoring defense, number 1 in total defense, number 1 in passing defense, number 3 in rushing defense, 2nd in takeaways with 21, and number 2 in sacks.
I think they're a much more diverse team than the Super Bowl team. They can do more things well and beat you more ways. I think their secondary's sick.
I think they're very dangerous.
So do I. Take out the Niners. They beat people by double figures. That's what they do.
And the interesting thing about them is Cam Akers is running the ball.
Oh my God.
Tremendous.
He was great.
And that opens the offense up for Jared Goff and Sean McVay so much. He had 29 carries, 171 yards. Yeah. Now listen, don't want to get crazy. The Patriots didn't have a good night, but if they can run the ball like that,
watch out. Enjoy the news.
Well, that's the news.
And thanks for stopping by.
The Herd Line
And one of the best Rams joining next.
Be sure to catch live editions of The Herd weekdays at noon Eastern, 9 a.m. Pacific on Fox Sports Radio, FS1, and the iHeartRadio app.
Personal growth is challenging, but it doesn't have to be hard. When we lean into self-inquiry and self-discovery, we're able to love all the tiny little parts of us, even the pieces we don't want other people to know about. And that's what it's really about, right? Self-love, self-acceptance, self-discovery, excavation, expansion. We are the powerful co-creators of our lives. All we need are the tools to get there. I'm Debbie Brown, the host of the Dropping Gems podcast, a podcast about the depth and potential of personal growth. No one's journey is the same as the next, but the magic of being human shows up in the things we have in common. Our capacity for love, pain, joy, sadness, togetherness, and solitude are things that make us perfectly imperfect. And I want to explore with you how we can live our best through it all. The new season of Dropping Gems is available now. Listen to Dropping Gems on the iHeartRadio app, Apple Podcasts, or wherever you listen to podcasts.
You already know that The Challenge is the most heart-pounding competition show on television. But do you ever wonder how challenge competitors are selected or which challenges were too dangerous for TV? Well, you can learn all that and so much more on MTV's official Challenge podcast. Hosted by your girl Tori and me, Anissa. We're giving you the inside scoop on the brand new season of The Challenge. Let's go, baby. Listen to MTV's official Challenge podcast on the iHeartRadio app, Apple Podcasts, or wherever you get your podcasts.
Turns 39 tomorrow. He's a Pro Bowl left tackle. 15 years in the league, going to get a lot of Hall of Fame consideration. He is joining us live after that impressive Rams showing last night. Andrew Whitworth joining us. Okay, let's start with this. Joy and I just asked the question. Super Bowl team, this team, Andrew, what does this team do better? What do you see, the similarities and differences?
I think that really offensively we mix it up a little more. I think when you look at the game plans, there's different things coming at you personnel-wise than really we did that year. So maybe we're not as fine-tuned in the one personnel that we do, but we mix it and do enough to kind of keep you off your feet a little bit. And trying to make sure you're matching us personnel-wise and the things we do. And defensively, man, I think the way they mix it up in coverages and blitzes and how they're playing up front, that secondary, the level they're playing at, and really the speed we have at linebacker and at safety, they can cover the field fast. I think one of the most impressive things about this defense is you watch last night, there's 2 or 3 people making the tackle, not one, all over the football.
Yes, incredibly fast. So Brandon Staley's your new defensive coordinator. Did you see something early? He obviously is a great communicator because the team communicates well defensively. Tell us what he does that you like.
I think he's a great teacher, and he's one of those guys that, much like when I moved here in 2017 in free agency and met Sean and was around him a lot and got to see him coach, you knew instantly, man, I don't know when it's coming or what time it's going to happen in his career, but this guy's going to be a really good football coach. And unfortunately, I think he's going to be one of those guys that, selfishly, you're hoping nobody calls him in the offseason, but he's going to be one of those that's going to be a hot ticket come soon.
So last night, the world got a look, and we'd seen him earlier this year, but he really controlled the last 3 quarters of the game, running back Cam Akers. So you guys, the Rams drafted him. Let's see, I think he was Van Jefferson, Cam Akers. So you didn't have a preseason. So obviously, you're going through walkthroughs. It's August. Did you suspect Cam would be this special?
I think he's one of those guys really through the walkthroughs, through when we got into practicing in camp. You knew enough watching how he carried the football, and it's strange to say, but he walks around like he's a really good tailback. Like just the demeanor, the attitude he kind of carries himself with. It's like this kid knows he's good, and he knows what it's going to take, but it's just figuring it out. And I think really early in camp, early in the season, it was more of him learning how we run the ball and really our scheme and what we're trying to accomplish with every run. Because I think that's the biggest change for these young skill players is it's not just free for all. It's there's a plan to every play, and that's how it's got to work in the NFL. And man, to watch him last night, that slash run ability, the set up the block, make one cut and hit it. It was impressive to see and talented.
Offensive line, you're out. You'll come back, but they have a young left tackle who played very well last night. What can you do not playing? I mean, obviously you talk, they listen, but I thought the offensive line last night had one of its better performances without you. I mean, and seriously, that's not what we would suspect. Your takeaway, do you talk, do you help, do you communicate your thoughts on the O-line without you?
Yeah, I think they did a tremendous job, and they're getting better and better every week, just like we kind of set out the season. I said at the beginning of the year that this group has the talent. They're young. I mean, people forget, really, without my old self and Roger Saffold and John Sullivan that we had 2 years ago, I mean, this was a really young, inexperienced group, and now your two most experienced guys outside myself are really only 4 and 5 year players, and the rest they're in their second season. Are rookies, and so it's one of those things where this is a very young group that's getting better every single week, including Joseph Noteboom, who's playing left tackle right now while I'm out, and he's continuing to get better and better. And the physicality they played with last night, that's something you bottle up and say, hey guys, if we can play that way each and every week, we're going to give this offense a chance with a great defense to put ourselves in position to win each and every week.
Aaron Donald doesn't look like a big talker, and not all players are built to lead. Some are just built to perform. Is Aaron a leader or just a remarkable talent?
Well, I think that it's in the. I think the streamers and the yeller version of leaders would probably say, hey, you know what, he doesn't talk enough. But I'm one of those people that, Colin, I don't believe in that mess. I think that leadership is the ability to walk in a room and men say, you know what, that's the guy I want to walk in the room with. And that's the guy that when I want to walk in adversity, I want to walk in it right beside him. This guy does everything the right way. His attitude's the right way. His effort's the right way. He sets the tone in how he does things each and every week for this defense and for our entire team. And to me, that's the greatest form of leadership there is, because if I'm going to walk in any kind of adversity, Aaron Donald's the guy I want right beside me. So to me, that's the kind of leadership that lasts.
You've been posting your rehab on Instagram. I said this earlier today. In a league where Seattle has injuries, Pittsburgh, Dallas, Philadelphia, Tampa Bay, 3rd year in a row, you guys are remarkably healthy. Even you're coming back. There was the Gurley injury. They've quickly replaced him with good drafting. Is it luck? Is it coincidence? Is it culture? The Rams have stayed remarkably healthy, Andrew, and you know. I mean, you don't get hurt much. I mean, what is it in the culture? Is it a better turf? It's less hitting in practice. What is it?
It's wild in this league. You look at the late in the year and playoff runs, you can talk about who gets hot and who does this, but a lot of the time, Colin, goes back to who's healthy and who's not. And I think that's one of the most important things you can be at the end of the season is have a healthy football team. And I think that really, honestly, it's Reggie Scott and his team, our medical director and our VP of sports performance. I mean, this guy does a tremendous job of just being the guy who helps establish the culture, not necessarily on the football field, but in our locker room, in our weight room, in our training room. He does an amazing job. Our staff is unbelievable. Really, the job Justin Love has done and come in and for us as a strength coach. I mean, it's really special, and it's one of the things that I realized was completely different about this place the first day I stepped in it, is really the job they do of taking care of guys' bodies, being on top of those kind of things. I mean, Colin, here's my birthday tomorrow. This is going to be probably one of the first times on my birthday I'm not going to be playing NFL football in 260-something games. I have no idea what to do right now. I'm so confused, not being healthy and ready to go, but I'm looking forward for the opportunity that I know this. I mean, in the progress we're making, I'll be back for the playoffs without question if that happens, and so I'm excited.
Go have a piece of cake. Just go have a big...
Yeah.
Fat piece of cake for your 39th.
I can't do that. All the guys are working hard. They're winning football games. I'm so jealous and feel worthless right now.
Well, you're great for us. You're not worthless. You're a great guy, and we appreciate you coming on. Thanks, buddy.
Hey, I appreciate it.
Well, that's a guy you want in the locker room. That is a cat I want in my locker room.
He's a Man of the Year candidate.
Oh, is he?
Yep.
Oh, that's great. He's as good as they get.
It's Walter Payton Man of the Year award.
Wow. It's a streaming service coming next year, U.S. only. It's called Discovery Plus. They have, your Food Network, your HGTV, and what else do they have? Oh, they have some exclusive originals. By the way, I just got text. I don't have my phone. There's a documentary on Schitt's Creek.
Oh, yeah, I'm going to watch it.
It's called something Warmest Regards or something. I was just texted by a friend. He said, watch the documentary on...
Warmest Regards, yes. Best wishes, Warmest Regards.
Watch that.
I'm going to.
Okay, so I got to tell my wife and enjoy. All right, hour 3 coming up next.
You know exactly where you were when the Golden State Killer was arrested. You're a moderator on the Zodiac Killer subreddit. You're in search of a new challenge. Enter Solve, the hit podcast that puts you at the center of the investigation. Solve is like other murder mystery podcast. You'll piece together evidence to track down killers hiding in plain sight. Your cases are waiting for you. New episodes of Solve are available now on the iHeartRadio app, Apple Podcasts, or wherever you get your podcasts. One crime, 4 suspects. Can you solve it?
Contact World is a technology and media company dedicated to improving public health, and our podcast is our opportunity to dive into hot topics that are relevant to you, from contact tracing to vaccines to social and racial justice. We may not have all the answers, but you deserve to know what goes on in your neighborhood and the decisions that affect you and your family's health. I'm Justin. Back, join me and my co-host Catherine and Deep D as we seek truth in health. Listen to Contact World, the podcast, on the iHeartRadio app, Apple Podcasts, or wherever you get your podcasts.
My name is Jamie Loftus, and I'm here to tell you about my new show, Lolita Podcast. Lolita by Vladimir Nabokov is one of the most controversial works of all time, and our culture has done its protagonist a huge disservice over the years. I've spent the last few months getting to the bottom of how America turned this abused young girl into a sex symbol, and what that says about us. New episodes drop weekly on Mondays. Listen to Lolita Podcast on the iHeart Radio app, Apple Podcasts, or wherever you listen to podcasts.
Hi, this is Bowen Yang here, and if you're as excited as I am about the upcoming 4th season of Search Party on HBO Max, then you'll want to tune in to Search Party, the podcast. In each episode, I go behind the scenes with the writers and actors of the disturbingly dark comedy and chat favorite moments and themes with special guest celebrity fans. Search Party Season 4 comes to HBO Max on January 14th. Meanwhile, be sure to subscribe to Search Party, the podcast, which premieres December 14th on the iHeartRadio app, Apple Podcasts, or wherever you get your podcasts.
Thanks for listening to the Herd Podcast. Be sure to catch us live every weekday from 12 to 3 Eastern, 9 to noon Pacific on Fox Sports Radio and FS1. Find your local station for the Herd at foxsportsradio.com or stream us live every day on the iHeartRadio app by searching Herd.
You're listening to Fox Sports Radio.
Fox Super 6 has given away over $3 million already. All you have to do is correctly predict the outcome of 6 NFL games. Download the free Fox Super 6 app and make your picks before kickoff Sunday for your chance to win. And for top stories, scores, and more, go to the Fox Sports app. Bucks Vikings is featured in Sunday's contest. Colin, give us your winner and final score.
30-24. I think the number is -6. I think the number's right. So to me, I think Tampa's going to win the game. I think they're right at the number. 30-24-ish. It's strength against strength. Vikings like to run. Buccaneers have a really good run defense, and they're getting healthier. So we'll see how they perform off the bye. By the way, nothing says holiday cheer like Rick Tech, a grill built for grillers, but built by grillers. Start it, turn it on, off. Cook your protein by your phone, rectechwithaq.com. Bucky Brooks drafted by the Bills in the second round, scouted for the Panthers and the Seahawks, and he is now joining us on a Friday. So I said, we were talking before the break. I said, I just don't see dynamic players for the Patriots. I just don't see it. And I don't have an explanation. They really struggle with perimeter offensive players. You gave me a little bit of a theory on what you heard. I thought it was fascinating. I thought it was inside kind of the Beltway on why they have struggled often mightily in the draft overall.
Colin, the Patriots have enjoyed an unprecedented level of success. The one thing that they have done, though, is when it comes to the draft, they really operate off of a very small menu, a very small pond. So, for example, the Patriots have been reported to have maybe 75 prospects on their draft board. And working for teams, normally the number is anywhere from 125 to 150 in terms of the number of prospects that are on your board. So if you think about having 75, that's about as skinny as you can get. And it really makes it where you're really limited in terms of what you're bringing into the building. And so they prioritize toughness and smarts and versatility and special teams value. But when you're operating from such a shallow pool, it makes it very, very difficult because you may miss out on some athletes who may be lacking in some other areas, but because you're really steadfast to what you believe the core traits are, you bypass some of those guys because you want guys that are system fits.
That's really interesting. It's also a pretty complex system. It may be harder for young players to adapt. That's reasonable, right? That could be part of it.
Yeah, that's a big part of it. talking about wide receivers prior to coming on, their system is very complex. So if you have a lot of what we call post-snap reads, meaning after the ball is snapped, I'm a wide receiver running down the field. Depending upon what the defense does, it impacts what I do. So I have to be on the same page with the quarterback, where if the guy blitzes, I'm running a sight adjustment. If they play a certain coverage, I do something else. That is a lot of moving parts for a young player. And if you don't get the right player who is comfortable doing that or able to do that, they struggle. And when you had a quarterback prior to Cam Newton, Tom Brady, who had been there 20 years, who may not have a lot of patience for young guys to make mistakes, it's hard to get those guys on the field and get them valuable playing time.
Well, an offense that is really humming right now is Green Bay. Is it personnel? Is it coaching? Is it, you tell me what you see when you look as a former player and scout at the Packers.
It's everything. I think this is the right system for where Aaron Rodgers is at this stage of his career. He is still a spectacular player, but understand, coming into this year, he had come off 3 or 4 straight years where his numbers and production and performance had declined. Well, what Matt LaFleur has done, he has put in a system that is a system that we've seen elevate average quarterbacks. I would say Aaron Rodgers is the most talented quarterback to play in this Shanahan type system.
Yeah.
And so what you're seeing them layer layup after layup, easy opportunities where guys are wide open, and then you put in a talented passer, well, now you're seeing the fireworks. And so I would say that the system has given him a level of structure where he doesn't have to do everything on his own. And also, they've done a pretty good job of developing all the players that we took shots at in the draft when they didn't go and add pieces to their offense. They felt good about the guys that they had, and right now, I think they've been proven right.
Big Ben was asked this week about the Steelers, why they're not running well, and he said, hey, some of it probably falls on me. They have drafted offensive linemen through the years. We think of them as a tough, hard-nosed team. It starts with Mike Tomlin and the culture he creates. A lot of emotion, toughness. But I watch the Steelers. Bucky, they don't even attempt to run. What is it? They've run before. Maybe, Le'Veon Bell left 3 years ago. They've been 30th, 29th, 28th in rushing, and maybe that. But, they're the only team in the league that I don't even think tries to run. What is it?
Sometimes, Colin, when you have a high-end quarterback, a quarterback who has had a lot of success in the league, you defer to the wishes of the quarterback. Well, every quarterback in the league wants to throw the ball all over the yard. And so Ben Roethlisberger would prefer to have the ball in his hands, let him go empty formations, and throw it all over the field. The problem with that is when you have to have it, we call it these gotta-have-it downs. Short yardage, goal line, 3rd and 4th and short, where you really got to run the ball. The defense knows you have to run the ball. The Steelers aren't able to do that. And I know the analytics will tell you that it's more efficient to pass it, but football is still a physical game, a contact sport. You have to be able to run the ball to have a level of toughness on your team. I worry about the Steelers because their inability to run, to me, reflects a lack of toughness on their offense, and I don't think you can beat the teams that they would have to beat in the AFC by being a finesse team. The Bills, the Dolphins, the Browns, the Colts, the Titans, you got to hit those teams in the mouth, and the Steelers don't have that capacity to do so.
Buys as a player and as a scout within an organization. I've always been told, this is kind of a Vegas thing, that buys, there are certain times you want buys to land. Now, Tampa gets a very late season buy. Is too much already established? Do you think they have a different look out of this buy? Go back to your own. People always say late October, first week of November. That's when you want your buy. Your identity isn't quite formed. Is this buy meaningless? Too late in the year? Do you think Tampa looks different coming out of it as we only got 4 games left?
No, I think this could certainly help him. I think it comes at the right time for Tom Brady. We have seen Tom Brady fade in December. And so this gives him a chance to really rest his arm, to reset. It gives Bruce Arians and Tom Brady a chance to get on the same page. There obviously has been a lot of conversation about whose offense are they running. Is this a version of the Patriots offense? Is this Bruce Arians offense? Where does Tom Brady fit when it comes to his comfort level? I think this is a great opportunity for them to reset. Saying that, it is going to be really tough for the Tampa Bay Buccaneers to make a run at the Super Bowl. When I look at this team offensively, they don't run the ball enough consistently. Whether that's Tom wanting to throw it, whether that's Bruce Arians not being committed to it. To win, you still have to be able to run the football. I think they need to run it more so they really can set up some play action passes to Tom Brady. Because remember, Bruce Arians is not a play action passer. He doesn't like calling play action passes. Tom Brady called a lot of them in New England. They need to add that because it makes it easier for the quarterback because the windows are bigger when you use play action.
Finally, what is the window? It wasn't very hardy for Cam Newton before New England. Now, he's been a good team guy. He's been complimentary. They've been complimentary. There's not much to work with. It was kind of a prove-it contract. I'm not sure exactly what's been proven. What is the market for Cam Newton in a month and a half?
Oh, I think Cam Newton is going to be back in New England. I think everyone understands what this was, and I think it didn't take much to see the talent disparity between the Patriots and the Rams last night. Even when you removed Cam Newton from the game and we saw Jarrett Stidham got beat to a pulp in less than a quarter of work. I mean, when you look at the offensive line that was in front of him, you look at the wide receivers and all of those things, they aren't a very talented bunch. Now, he is still struggling as a passer, but I will point to the fact that he has been a good soldier. He has been a model citizen. He has given them a shot in the arm in terms of the running game. Maybe with a full offseason, this offense can look different, particularly if they upgraded. I think Cam Newton goes back to the Patriots because at worst, he could be the bridge quarterback for another young quarterback. I think we saw with Jarrett Stidham and Brian Hoyer, they don't have a quarterback of the future on their roster. At some point, they're going to have to get that guy. I think Cam Newton's in the right spot to be the guy that is there for the next year or two until they get that next generational talent at the quarterback position.
Fox Sports, Bucky. Brooks played, scouted. Good talking to you, bud. Happy holidays for you and the fam.
Hey, appreciate it, Colin.
All right, Bucky Brooks. Daniel Jeremiah and he have a great podcast called Move the Sticks. It's very, very good. Yeah, it's just going to be interesting. You know, about every year we need 8 new coaches in the NFL. About every year we need 7 new quarterbacks in the NFL. So what's the market going to be? I don't know what the market's. I don't think it's terribly robust. I still think that the team that I just keep going back to over and over and over and over is Indianapolis. They got Phillip Rivers and Jacoby Brissett. They're paying them $46 million. My guess is neither is going to be back. So they got to get somebody. Darnold has regressed at the end of the year. That's not very attractive. I don't think they'd give much up for him. Carson Wentz is expensive. There's Jimmy Garoppolo, who I don't know if Chris Ballard loves. They also drafted Jacob Eason last year. Big, strong arm kid from Washington. You know, maybe I have no idea what they're. I keep reading Greg Doyle, their columnist in Indianapolis, Bob Kravitz, to see what they're saying about Jacob Eason. But he's just not getting any reps because they have Jacoby Brissett and Phillip Rivers. So there you go.
You're going to come into a new season of joy and fulfillment like you've never seen.
Hi, I'm Joel Osteen. I have a daily podcast where I talk about overcoming obstacles, accomplishing dreams, and becoming all you were created to be.
You were made for more. You have new levels in you. There are seeds of greatness waiting to spring forth.
You can't think negative thoughts and live a positive life. And on my daily podcast, I'll help you get your mind going in the right direction.
You may have had some disappointments in the past, but this is a new day. Chains that have held you back are being broken. Doors are going to open that you never dreamed would open. Now do your part. Keep feeding your hopes, feeding your dreams. Don't use your energy to feed your history. Use your energy to feed your destiny.
It's inspiring, uplifting, and encouraging. I think you'll like it.
Listen to the Joel Osteen Podcast on the iHeartRadio app, on Apple Podcasts, or wherever you get your podcasts.
Hey everybody, this is Jill Scott, and I am pleased to introduce you to J.L, the podcast. I am joined by my amazing, brilliant girlfriends, Laia St. Clair.
What up, though?
And Aja Graydon Dantzler.
Hey, y'all.
We are going to be talking about a lot of amazing things like individuality,
family, and blackness.
Oh, Jill, I don't have time to listen to a podcast. Honey, listen when you're soaking in your bathtub. Listen on your long drive home or when you're shopping at the grocery store. Just throw those earbuds in and check out J.L, the podcast. Listen to Jill Scott Presents J.L, the podcast on the iHeartRadio app, Apple Podcast, or wherever you get your podcasts.
the Herd Line News.
Well, sticking with Cam Newton, he had another lackluster game in that 24-3 loss to the Rams last night, and Bill Belichick wasn't thrilled, as he generally isn't after a loss, but he was asked if he would keep Cam as his starter.
You're going to stick with Cam next week at quarterback?
Great question, Mike. I'm really glad you asked that. Cam's our quarterback.
What has Cam showed you to stick by him so much?
He's our quarterback. I think we just answered that one.
Another guy who doesn't really particularly enjoy talking to the media. He had a real look going on last night, did Belichick, with his mask. He had like I don't know what they're called, I guess the face shield and then the mask over top.
Yeah, I didn't get, you're indoors in a stadium where there's nobody, all your players have been tested.
Well, everyone has to wear masks on the
No, I
sidelines
get
now.
that.
But yeah, it was like a weird double mask situation. But like seeing masks anyway, trying to get through this, so it's very helpful. Anyway, Cam just feels like like they're just struggling to get through the rest of the season. And isn't it strange, because if they had won this game, we'd be talking about Bill Belichick as Coach of the Year candidate, and what's the future of Cam long term in New England. Like, one loss can really just derail the whole future of the franchise. Now, I'm not trying to be, melodramatic here, but that was a big time loss for the Patriots. Like, they won 4-5, and that was a game that they really needed for the playoffs.
When you watch them against the Rams and the Niners defenses, they just look inept, and those are better defenses. So they haven't played this year. They haven't played Miami. I think they have a Miami game yet, but they haven't played a menu of great defenses. So, because Buffalo, when they play them, is not a great defense. They look completely outclassed. The Rams looked so active and so fast in the back, so reactionary to everything they did. Again, there's no metric for this. The Rams have to be first or second fastest defense in the league. They are that back, those linebackers, Kenny Young, the safeties run well. They are all over the field.
Their defense is unbelievable. I agree with Bucky. The talent disparity.
Oh God, it's not even close.
It's not even close. Like, that Rams team looks like they could win a Super Bowl tomorrow, like without a week's rest off, and Cam couldn't get anything done.
If you said, okay, 10 best skill players in the game, you'd say Robert Woods, Cooper Kupp, Higbee, the tight end, maybe Damian Harris, Cam Akers, Everett, the tight end, Van Jefferson. I mean, honestly, I'm thinking of the top 7 or 8, and then with Goff. I mean, like, honestly, outside of Damian Harris, who do they have in the top 10 on that field? Last night, skill position.
Well, they did have a lot of opt-outs this year, did the Patriots.
Yeah, I get it.
They are going to have to retool. I also agree with Bucky. I do think Cam's going to be there next year, because if you just look at the market, who is out there? Now, I trust that Belichick has a master plan.
Yeah, well,
I'm not going to bail on him as far as the football genius and what he has up his sleeve just yet.
He is a football coach. He's not Elon Musk.
But
Maybe he doesn't have a plan.
I will say that Cam just looks like he's struggling throwing the ball.
Oh, yeah.
And I'm saying this as a huge Cam fan. I was rooting for him this year. He doesn't look the same. And as high as they were riding into this game, that was a really bad loss, and it was rough to watch. They had to sit him out there at the end of the game. So
first and goal at the 8, they never even attempted to throw it. It's like the Patriots are telling you what to think.
And they had a lot of uncharacteristic penalties.
How about the 4th and 1? They jumped off and gave the Rams a first down. I literally sat there with my buddy. I got a buddy named Colin. He's a football coach, and we just looked at each other and we're like, okay, that I haven't seen a Patriot team do that in a decade.
Unbelievable.
That was what the Patriots induced.
Yes.
They never do that.
They don't beat themselves.
Ever. It was like that was the game was over, but if the Rams don't get it there, it's a little bit of a momentum shift.
Without a reach.
That was the game.
Yeah. So the Bucs are sitting at 7-5 with 4 games left in the season. This isn't where Tom Brady was hoping to be at this point in the season, but he's looking forward to a December push towards the playoffs.
I know we all wish we were 12-0 at this point. It's not the reality. We haven't deserved it. We haven't played to that level. Hopefully now, having a week off, understanding, how we need to approach these things going forward, we can play better, really our best football. That's what December's all about. So we can continue to improve. And wherever that takes us, that takes us.
By the way, they were terrible against the Saints. They were great against the Packers. They They were not great against the Rams. They were terrible against the Bears. They have been, considering the leadership on this team, like Arians, Brady, they have been so inconsistent. They're bad. They are a mess.
That's why I think these final two games against the Falcons are very interesting. This weekend obviously starts it. They need to win this game against the Vikings. Yeah. But they have at the Falcons and the Lions, and then the Falcons at home. Yeah. Tom Brady also is enjoying playing in the warm weather, so he is officially an old person now. He said, "You won't catch me dead living in the Northeast anymore." So he's liking those Florida winters. Yes, you and all the snowbirds, but that's how it goes. Florida winters are not terrible. No. Especially looking around the country right now with all the snow. So LeBron James has been named Time's 2020 Athlete of the Year. He has been influential both on and off the court this year. He led the Lakers to their 17th NBA title and recently signed an $85 million extension with the team. He was also one of the sport's leading voices speaking out against racial injustice and set up an organization called More Than a Vote to help fight voter suppression nationwide. He said he was honored to be named Athlete of the Year. He responded to Time's announcement on Twitter with the praying hands and a crown and a heart emoji.
By the way,
very well deserved.
Who won the MVP? Who won the MVP? So he's the man of the year in the country. They can't, MVP.
I know. Yeah, the NBA MVP. We know what it is now. I did not. I thought that LeBron should have won the MVP this year. I understand Giannis had an incredible season. I understand his numbers were better than last year.
It's always like to me. She's Miss Universe, but she didn't win her own country. How can you be Miss Universe?
I don't think you can do that.
Well, Can you?
No, I think you have to win Miss.
You have to win your country.
Yeah. So actually, the Miss Universe pageant actually makes more sense than the NBA MVP because you do have to win your country. If you win your state and then your country and then you go to Miss Universe. So yeah, there actually is more of an alignment there as far as the voting goes. But yes, I look. This was LeBron's year. It would have been nice to actually add that extra, jewel in the crown to an MVP this year as well.
Miss Universe. Talk about
a lot of pressure.
Oh, I think I'd have a big attitude.
I was a pageant girl.
You
once
were?
upon a time. Yes.
Oh, what was your talent? What did you do in the talent thing?
Well, so I did the Miss USA. Not Miss America, so you don't have to have talent. If you do Miss America, you have to have a talent.
If Miss USA?
If you do Miss USA, you don't have to have a talent.
So what did
You
you do?
have to answer a question, you do like the swimsuit portion and then like the gown portion.
Boy, that's not much of a standard for Miss USA.
Well, yeah, I mean that's how the pageants go. Like Miss America has you have to do a talent of some sort. I did do a pageant once where I recited Phenomenal Woman by Maya Angelou. That was my talent.
You recited it?
Yeah, well I performed it, I guess. I can't sing, I can't dance. So
I'll give you
I can't play an instrument.
I will give you $100 right now if you sing.
Sing? Like like any song?
Any lyric for at least 10 seconds.
You give me $100?
Yeah, I mean I don't have it in my pocket. But
no, so like you'll give me $100.
Monday on the show, I'll give you $100 if you sing.
Lean on me when you're not strong.
2 seconds.
And I'll be your friend. I'll help you carry on. Is that 10 seconds?
That was 8.
It won't be long.
All right, you have the
I'm gonna need somebody to lean on. I apologize, guys.
That's not $100. By the way, you had the courage to do it. You could pay me $1 million.
I'm very aware I can't sing.
And I sound a little like Bryan Adams. I'm not gonna lie to you.
I just paid $100.
There you go, $100 Monday.
Yep.
I'll deliver it. There we go. Joy with the news.
Well, that's the news.
And thanks for stopping by.
The Herd Line News.
Also, pretty good song, by the way. That's
I was trying. I was put on the spot. I feel like I could have. That's a tough song to sing, actually.
Yeah, you could have
done. I feel
like
I needed like an ensemble for that.
Or so, yeah.
Maybe I'll do something better on Monday.
It'll be our thing. Or something, yeah. Jason McIntyre's NFL picks next.
Be sure to catch live editions of The Herd weekdays at noon Eastern, 9 a.m. Pacific on Fox Sports Radio, FS1, and the iHeartRadio app.
Are you dealing with best life burnout, constantly striving for more, and quite frankly, over it? Maybe you just want more joy, peace, and laughter in your life now. Well then let's go. Welcome to your new favorite podcast, Hot Happy Mess, hosted by me, your girl, Zuri Hall. Join us each week as we discuss dating, relationships, self-care, career wins and losses, and so much more. Oh, and moments like this. You know what? Sometimes the grass is greener on the other side because it's fake. Well, that's why I mentioned muting. There are some clear because I was happy.
And I do love a clear.
Clear. Not clear. Wine will be spilled, laughs will be had, and a few tears might be shed. Messes will be made, but we're gonna find our magic in the middle of them. Don't miss new episodes every Monday. Find Hot Happy Mess on the iHeartRadio app, Apple Podcasts, or wherever you get your podcasts.
Hi, this is Bowen Yang here, and if you're as excited as I am about the upcoming 4th season of Search Party on HBO Max, then you'll want to tune in to Search Party, the podcast. I'm sitting down with the creators and stars of the dark comedy to delve deeper into the disturbing world inhabited by Dory, Drew, Elliot, and Portia. And to help us discuss Search Party's most prominent themes, we're inviting a very special celebrity fan to join each chat. Folks like Paul Scheer, Vanessa Bayer, Busy Phillips, Taryn Killam, and Carrie Brownstein, among many others. I couldn't be more excited to talk with these folks about one of my favorite shows on TV. So join us as we review classic moments, share behind-the-scenes anecdotes, and analyze the complex characters and unpredictable plot lines that make the series oh so much fun. Search Party Season 4 comes to HBO Max on January 14th. Meanwhile, be sure to subscribe to Search Party, the podcast, which premieres December 14th on the iHeartRadio app, Apple Podcasts, or wherever you get your podcasts.
He's like one of the stars in the league. He's one of the 10 young stars in the league, maybe top 5. All right, new Discovery Plus streaming service starts next year, early next year, U.S. only. It's got some exclusive stuff. Plus the Food Network, HGTV, Discovery Plus. All right, my Blazing 5-1 last week. Let's bring on Jason McIntyre. Straight Fire with Jason McIntyre. He's got a new podcast. For iHeart. Let's bring him on. It's the Coward Global Satellite Network, even though he's just down the street. Not very global. All right, buddy, here we go. These games now, post-Thanksgiving, you start looking at injury reports. Tomorrow's headlines today. What's the headline going to be for the Vikings at Tom Brady and the Bucs off a bye?
Yeah, this off a bye is big for old man Brady. The headline will be, ahoy, me Brady. Give me Tom Brady at home against the Vikings. Colin, you know what month it is, right? It's December. And an old man in a red suit always delivers in December. And Tom Brady is coming through this weekend. I really like Tampa a lot. One of my best bets of the week. I know it's a big number and that'll scare some people off, but this is more about Minnesota. Okay, Dalvin Cook has never had a 30-carry game in his career. Okay, he's had 3 of them this season, 32 last week. The Vikings are so desperate, they ran him 8 straight times in overtime. So now you get a tired Dalvin Cook against the #1 rated run defense. Okay, now if you take Dalvin Cook away, what are you left with, Colin? Do you trust Kirk Cousins at all? It's the giving season. All he does is give away interceptions, 12 in the NFL, 3rd in the league. I think Tom Brady delivers here. This is a statement game for the Bucs, who've kind of looked ragged, right, the last 3 of their last 4 games.
Yeah, I hope they run the football. Ronald Jones, quite a player.
But Eric Kendricks out for the Vikings. That's big.
Tomorrow's headlines today. Interesting game. Chiefs down in Miami against the Finns.
Yes, this is the game of the weekend. I love it. You and I kind of on the same side here. The headline will be Mahomes alone too. Lost in Miami. Pat Mahomes. I love that one, huh? That's a good one. And the Chiefs. We've seen some red zone struggles from the Chiefs right now.
We have.
23rd in the league in the red zone. 0 for 7 the last 2 weeks. Now we know the Chiefs are the best team in the NFL. We know Mahomes is the best quarterback, but in a one-game spot right here, I like Miami. Colin, we're talking about a great secondary, and remember, Brian Flores is the defensive coordinator in New England when they shut out Mahomes in the first half of the AFC title game. Remember that? Tyreek Hill had 1 catch. Travis Kelce had 2. Flores knows how to scheme against an elite quarterback like Mahomes. I think we're going to see some very exotic things because you can't blitz Mahomes. Dolphins love to blitz. Mahomes, 12 touchdowns, 0 picks against the blitz. I can't wait to see what Flores cooks up. And maybe your guy Tua actually delivers on offense. He's been pretty up and down.
Yeah, but by the way, though, you really pointed to something. That red zone problem for Kansas City is the difference between just winning a game and covering. They're not a great cover team right now because they're settling for field goals, not touchdowns. So that's a very sharp play. Tomorrow's headlines today. I stayed away from this one. Colts at the Raiders. I'm interested, but I want to know about the health of both offensive lines. So what say you?
Yes, that's huge. Well, Trent Brown's expected back for the Raiders. The headline will be Colts in need of a fill-up. Phillip Rivers, I think he has some problems here. And I know people are going to say, Jason, the Raiders stink. The Jets just moved up and down the field against them. Well, listen, December's a tough time for Phillip Rivers. He's got a Christmas shop for 9 of his kids, and that's going to take away some of the game planning against the Raiders. No, but in all reality, I do believe the Raiders hit rock bottom against the Falcons, had a bit of a dead cat bounce coming up last week, beating my Jets in what kind of hurt as a Jets fan. But I think the Raiders get healthy as long as the secondary comes back. 3 of their 4 starters have missed practice this week. That's a bit of a concern. I just believe in Derek Carr here in a big spot. And Colin, a win for the Raiders would be the second best news out of Vegas this week. The first, of course, being the report that you're moving there, which would so much help the economy in Las Vegas.
All right, whatever. Tomorrow's headlines today: Steelers at the really impressive Bills. Boy, do they look good against the Niners.
Great primetime game. Can't wait for it. We disagree on this. The headline will be Steelers form a Josh Pitt. Come on, Colin. I know you love a good mosh pit.
Yeah.
The guy to watch in this game is TJ Watt. Okay, 2 weeks ago, Joey Bosa absolutely wrecked the Buffalo Bills. 3 sacks, 6 tackles for loss. TJ Watt is the best defensive end in the league right now. I think he dominates this game and really rattles Josh Allen. And Colin, you like to play the markets. I know you're a big stock market guy. Okay, this is the ultimate buy low, sell high. Pittsburgh loses to Washington. Everybody watched that game on Monday, right? And you buy them low. This is an 11-1 team. We're forgetting this is a Buffalo defense that's league average. Even though they destroyed the 49ers on Monday night, I just want to remind people the 49ers turned the ball over on downs twice inside the 5-yard line. Otherwise, that's a different game. I just think the Bills a little overvalued here in the market, and this was a Pittsburgh favored spot a week ago, and now they're underdogs. Give me the underdog Steelers here to win outright.
Yeah, that's pretty smart right there.
Did I flip you at all, or?
Yeah, I kind of like that. Just giving me some pause. All right, finally, tomorrow's headlines today: Ravens at the Cleveland Browns.
Yes, your unabashed love for all things Baker Mayfield is fun. It's a big deal on the internet. The headline, however, will be "That's so Ravens." I know you didn't watch that Nickelodeon show back in the day. Trust me, it was popular among the people. This is a bad spot for Baker Mayfield, Colin. Again, not to play up the market angle too much, but everybody saw Baker Mayfield 4 touchdowns in the first half, 38-7 lead on the road. But what they didn't notice was we know that Baker struggles under pressure. If you can get to him with a blitz, rattle the guy, he gets shook. No disrespect to Baker, who I know is watching this. The Tennessee Titans hit him once, Colin. What do the Baltimore Ravens do? They lead the league in blitz percentage. This is going to be John Harbaugh saying, we're coming all out after Baker Mayfield. And I'm sorry, you don't have Odell Beckham. Now you got Donovan Peoples-Jones, Higgins on the outside against Marcus Peters, who's sniffing. He's going to be sniffing a pick 6 this week. Marlon Humphrey. It's a good Ravens team getting healthier coming off the COVID. Didn't look particularly sharp against Dallas on Tuesday. I mean, the Cowboys only punted once. But I will say this. I like the Ravens to come after Baker from the jump. Give me Baltimore as a short road favorite. Only 2? I'm surprised. They killed Baker in the opener. And I like Baltimore here.
So we disagree a lot outside of the Miami.
We do. It's very rare, you know.
You like but
ski,
I will say,
I like beaches.
Your Steelers Bills is really smart. Is that it's a buy low, sell high, and literally the line changed like 4 points in 1 week because Buffalo was so great on Monday, and the Niners had 2 red zone turnovers. Let
me add this other thing, Colin. So I got to go around the country doing radio shows, probably 2 a day, okay? And I always ask, what's your favorite bet? And unfailingly, everybody loves the Buffalo Bills this week. What does that mean, okay? The public is all over the Bills here. Nobody wants to bet the Steelers. This guy wants to bet the Pittsburgh Steelers.
All right. I got to be honest with you. Your rationale was solid. A lot of times you're like Kyrie Irving. Picture out in the flat earth guy. All right, wow. J-Mac, good seeing you, buddy. Yeah, well,
take it easy.
Jason McIntyre. Wiper blades, trusted for long drives. Michelin Endurance XT silicone wiper blades. Get them at Walmart. Last 2 times longer than other blades. Yeah, the feeling's always been on Monday Night Football is that it's a standalone game. This week it wasn't. And if a team plays great, the country, everybody's watching, and they overbet them. But boy, Buffalo's got the quarterback's on fire. The offensive coordinator's going to get a head job. Their head coach is smart. The GM just signed an extension for the first time ever since maybe I shouldn't say ever, Jim Kelly, Marv Levy days. I like their coach. I like their coordinator. I like their quarterback. They're very good situationally late in games. It's at Buffalo. I remember week 2. A gambler I know said Buffalo's a top 3 team in the league. You watch.
Yeah, I mean, so it was silly for them to say it's still the Patriots division. No,
it's not. It's Buffalo's.
It's Buffalo's division.
This is Buffalo's.
It's on
division.
you this year.
Gotcha. I think Josh Allen's game on Monday Night Football was the best I've seen any offensive player this year in the league. Any position, any player. Josh Allen was filthy. Everything. Deep, short, intermediate, mobility. I mean, he was jaw-dropping. Like Greg Gosel's like, okay, he and Mahomes, just different level. All right, we'll see you Monday. Speak for yourselves around the corner.
Contact World is a technology and media company dedicated to improving public health. And our podcast is our opportunity to dive into hot topics that are relevant to you, from contact tracing to vaccines. To social and racial justice. We may not have all the answers, but you deserve to know what goes on in your neighborhood and the decisions that affect you and your family's health. I'm Justin Beck. Join me and my co-host Catherine and Deep D as we seek truth in health. Listen to Contact World, the podcast, on the iHeartRadio app, Apple Podcasts, or wherever you get your podcasts.
Hey, I'm Gabby.
I'm Taylor. I'm Nika.
And we're the hosts of a new podcast called
Cadaver Gals. We're just 3 fun and flirty gals talking about all the fun and flirty ways that people expire.
Like how 3 people died because of a poodle.
Basically, this podcast is kind of like Sex in the City if they only talked about dead people. Join us as we laugh, but mostly cry, in the face of death.
So listen to Cadaver Gals.
New episodes out on Wednesdays.
Listen to Cadaver Gals on the iHeartRadio app, Apple Podcasts, or wherever you